3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie's been on vacation, and do you remember how headphones work, Maggie? I'm just curious here.
Not.
Are you concussed right now? What just happened?
Oh, we caught on the live stream. Great. I'm like literally crying.
It looked like you were putting on your headphones and one flip out your ear and hit you in the face. Are you okay?
No, my eyes are like tearing because I hit myself in the face with the headphone. We'll find it and we'll put it out on social media.
Is it going to be a situation where you're going to have a black eye tomorrow and everyone's going to think you're Maggie? I was trying to put on my headphones.
Yeah, right. That's a bad excuse. Like something's going on at home. No, everything's fine.
Luckily, we have it on the live stream, so we don't have to worry about it.
My eyes, it's pretty bad, right? Getting hit in the face with the headphones.
Oh, no.
I know.
Do you need some ice? Do you want us to run and get you some ice?
No, I don't want anything. I want to hear this Kawhi Leonard theory.
They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
And welcome into the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff on this Monday. We got a lot to get into, but I was, astounded, dumbfounded, slack-jawed, whatever the word is, when it came in today and Perloff uttered these words.
What, that I feel bad for the New York Jets?
You feel bad for the New York Jets. Why would anyone on God's green earth feel bad for the New York Jets, especially right now, where this is as good as things have been for the Jets in decades?
No, it's not. They're 0-0. They've been 0-0 every year for 40 years. There's nothing good about now. What do you mean as good as it's been just because Aaron Rodgers is there? People are talking as if even you right there, as if they've done something. They've done nothing. And everyone's putting these Super Bowl or bust expectations, including themselves.
Yeah, not everybody. They are.
They are.
They like this. They love this. You don't feel bad for them.
The media is creating a problem for them, and the NFL. The NFL shoved hard knocks down their throats because everyone knows that we want to see Aaron Rodgers. And then the media, if you pay attention to such things, is 50% Jets fans, so they're shoving it down your throat. Everyone's shoving down the Jets down their throat, and people are going to be so eager to see them fail that if they do fail, even in a normal way, say they lose 6 games, everyone's just going to destroy them.
Listen, newsflash, people have been waiting for the Jets to fail forever.
There's
a cottage industry of people waiting for the Jets to fail. I don't feel bad for them for one moment. This is the most positivity they've had around their organization. This is the most hype. Yes, the most hype. But normally, over the last decade, they're kind of just forgotten. They're an afterthought. They're a punchline. Right now, you've got Rodgers in there basically putting his arms out and giving one big hug to this team. He's not being standoffish. He's not saying, oh, everyone got to catch up to me. I've got a PhD in this, and I'm not even going to talk to the rookies until they understand the playbook. He's being like the big brother that these guys have always wanted and taking on the expectations for everybody. This is awesome.
This is why I feel bad for Jets fans, because delusional statements like that. Look, come on. Aaron Rodgers is the same Aaron Rodgers he's always been, just because he's in a Jets uniform now. That when you say things like that, you're raising the bar of what they need to do to succeed so high. What were they, 7 wins last year? They need to now. First of all, they're expected to be a 9 or 10 win team, but if they win anything less than 12 and don't get to the AFC title game, those kind of statements are going to come back, and everyone who thinks it's kumbaya right now is going to boomerang and just destroy them in 6 months.
Well, I mean, destroy them. I don't think they're going to fall apart as a team. Here's Alan Lazard, okay? So this was, do we have this? This was just a quote he gave to Albert Breer. It's in the MMQB today. Here's Lazard on Rodgers, quote, he's opening his arms, putting his hand out, trying to help guys, trying to teach. That's not to say he was hard to play with in Green Bay. He was a little more like, you have to pick it up. He's a little slower here, realizing there's a lot of new players. He's taking his time. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing how much he cares for those guys and how much he really just wants to put the icing on the cake as far as his career. This is great. I don't feel bad for any of it, for anyone with the Jets. This is perfect. Aaron Rodgers, chip on his shoulder, expectations sky high. They're leaning into it. There's stakes finally for the Jets. Yeah. And listen, will I be there laughing if it crashes and burns? Totally. But at least they have a shot, which is not what Jets teams have been able to say over the last 10 years.
Okay, this is the classic build them up so we can tear them down. Everyone's building them up.
They're building themselves up.
No, come on. You don't think that people have been dying for, like, a lot of people have been dying for the Jets to be relevant, even more relevant, and now they're just going way too ballistic on this. This is ridiculous overkill. They have a new quarterback and a young team. Yes, I expect them to make the playoffs, but this Super Bowl or bust mentality is just, it's totally misplaced, and it's going to end up, Aaron Rodgers now says he's going to be there 2 or 3 years. Well, let it build. Remember when Tom Brady got to Tampa Bay? It took a long time for them to figure out what they were doing there.
A month. It's a long time.
Remember
it took a month.
They were 3-3 or something. He held up the wrong down sign against Chicago, and everyone's like, oh, it's over. If the Jets start off slow, it's going to be bad.
Okay, but that's not something they might be able to dig themselves out of. And the thing is,
but people are not going to be patient with this Jets team.
Okay, but can't have it both ways here. You're going to say with Brady, it took a while. They won a Super Bowl in the first year. That's what this is going to be judged on, and they're fine with it. So, the ebbs and flows of the season, you're going to have highs and lows. That's every year for every team. But they microwaved a championship. The Rams did too. Yeah. Why wouldn't the Jets think they could do the same thing?
The one thing about that's different with Tampa Bay and the Jets is the Jets are getting 200 more times more hype than that. Tom Brady. I mean, I turn on my TV and it's Jets. Everybody's reporting to camp this week, and people are already reporting to camp, and still my TV is loaded with just that ugly green Jets.
You want to know why?
It's ugly
green. It's the same Philadelphia green, isn't it? It's like similar shades of green.
I don't understand the Philly green either. But anyway, go ahead.
Here's the thing, right? It's like, if it'd be the reason why is not just because Rodgers and because of what a lightning rod he has become later in his career and just what a big personality. Not big personality. People are interested in how this is going to end here for Aaron Rodgers, the end of his career. But the other part is we're so used to the platitudes. We're so used to, well, one game at a time, and, we're just going out there. We're trying to be better today than we were yesterday. None of that is interesting to people. What's interesting is when a future Hall of Famer shows up to a woebegone franchise and says your Lombardi trophy is getting lonely. That's interesting. That's cool. They're doing this and building this all up. So to say that would ever feel bad for them, absolutely not. Now, will all this hype eventually turn on them? All yet to be seen. We're all going to find out together. But for now, they're leaning in, and that's why they're getting the attention.
So if they don't win the Super Bowl, in fact, the way you're talking right now, I'm starting to think they need to win the Super Bowl. I think if they don't win the Super Bowl, it's going to be bad. I think people are going to kill them, which is stupid because
I said all they have to do is make the playoffs.
Well, yeah, but I
got roasted for that. Oh, Maggie, come on.
The world has blown past that take, and you know it.
Oh, well, I mean.
Why don't we hear Louis Riddick? I think he summed it up pretty well.
I don't want them to enjoy nothing. I want them to get to the Super Bowl, and if not, you're going to be miserable because that's what you get. Because you've been saying all offseason, Aaron. I agree with Aaron this, Aaron that. No, win the Super Bowl or shut up.
So I don't know. That's Louis Riddick of ESPN, Monday Night Football host, talking, I think, to Mike Greenberg. I don't know if he's talking to Greeny or to the Jets. I think he's talking to the Jets. I don't want to hear it from you. You won 7 games last year.
I mean, it'd be kind of personal if he just said it to Greenberg. I mean, listen, Riddick is a former front office executive, so I'm sure he's a little leery of all the hype and what that can do to a team. But listen, their best player is the one who's embracing it.
Well, can you admit that the rest of the country that's not in the Northeast, New Jersey, New York area is going to hate this team? I saw it when that tweet from Lewis got tweeted out. I know it's only a small sample size. It's Twitter. Everyone was like, "Huzzah! Finally, someone is saying, get this team out of my focal point. I do not want to talk or think about the Jets anymore. There's so much fatigue, and Hard Knocks hasn't even started."
I know. And we got
win the Super Bowl or shut up.
So I guess maybe is that a poll question? Are you pulling for the Jets? If you're not a Jets fan, but are you hoping this Rodgers thing gets the fairy tale ending?
Sure.
Because I think people are interested. I think people are invested in Rodgers. They are. Maybe not in Green Bay.
Put out that poll, Mike, as Maggie worded it.
I know we're out in Milwaukee. Maybe he's not the most popular person there, but right now. But they are going to retire his number, by the way.
I think Rodgers is popular. People, I do not think like the New York Jets.
Well, let's hear it. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. I'm just glad we were a half a tick away from a Maggie and Perloff just straight up show emergency today. I mean, we were a half a tick away.
What happened?
Want to tell people what happened?
Oh, that I left my wallet in an Uber? Not really.
Well, but there was maybe 5 to 10 minutes where the show was teetering. It was dicey there for a second.
It 1,000% was not. The guy was a half a block away. He said he didn't see my text. I never thought, I knew exactly where I left it because I had my sandwich and my wallet.
Yeah.
I put my wallet down. Was there any fear that I wasn't going to get my wallet back? Because I had none.
Okay, when you walked in, and I thought, you walked in today, and I thought you already had the wallet. And I was like, let's do this for social media. You're like, absolutely not. Turn off the camera. I don't want to do this. And I was like, wait, why? You got it back, right? You're like, I didn't get it back. And we were teetering there for a moment on pure panic.
So it took 14 minutes old. No, wait, by the way, I'm glad you didn't tell me this because I told Mike and he's like, oh yeah, you'll get it back any second.
I thought you were too, but I don't think you thought you were going to get it back. I thought you were panicking.
I knew I was going to get it back because I don't think the average person who sits in the back of an Uber is going to take that wallet. Because
I mean, you're thinking very highly of humanity there.
I think that I don't think it's highly of humanity. I mean, it'll be obvious that they are the ones who took it because it was the next ride. There's only possible that there was one more ride. So that person took it. I guess
never take things for granted like that.
Oh, I didn't. It's funny. I did not panic that I was going to lose it.
You did not want to do a social media video about it. Not in that moment.
Well, I didn't really want to jinx it. But
like what, the Jets' Super Bowl chances. 855-212-4CBS. But you got the wallet back.
Yes, I did. So let me explain something to you that's a little different.
Okay.
The Jets hype and the Bills hype from last year. Bills were hyped last year. Would you agree with that?
Preseason Super Bowl favorite, preseason Josh Allen MVP.
Right.
Neither of which came true, by the way.
Right. But they were number one in Vegas odds for the Super Bowl, where the Jets are seventh. I think that kind of hype, there was on-field hype. What I'm saying about the Jets is this hype is not commensurate with on-field.
Well,
because they're such a young team, and they have a new quarterback, and they're all learning this new system, that I feel like there's something else behind this hype besides just football. Like, that was pure football hype for the Bills. I don't think there was any personalities. I think it's Rodgers doing all this media through the years, and the Jets, and being on Hard Knock. I just think there's a Jetsian quality about this buzz right now that is annoying me.
Well, okay. I get that. I understand it. I guess the one thing about it is the Jets won 7 games last year and did that with 4 different quarterbacks starting, none of whom, besides Joe Flacco, who's at the end of his career, none of those have any acclaim whatsoever. You know, like.
Oh, yeah. That's a nice way of putting it.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, kind here. Yeah. Zach Wilson might be the worst player ever. You know, Flacco's way past his prime. Mike White is I guess a high-end backup, and Chris Streveler can't actually throw the ball. He can only just run with the ball. So you know exactly what's going to happen. And they still won 7 games.
Right, but didn't they win those all early?
It is football hype.
No, I don't think so. I mean, last year, did they start out like 6-6 when Flacco was still basically alive, and then they lost their last 8 games? And then
they fell apart. But there was like the defense is legit. So there is a football aspect to this of why people like them.
Yeah, I mean, they lost 7 of them.
Won defensive rookie of the year, and Garrett Wilson won offensive rookie of the year. There is a football. If it was just personalities, it wouldn't live up.
If he had gone to Tampa Bay, it would be a much different feel. Or if he had gone to a different market. I think there's some New York hype going on here, which makes sense. I mean, it's a huge market.
That's why Rodgers, part of the reason I think why he was so open to this. Also, I don't know who else was bidding for him.
Right. I just think that again, I think the rest of the country is going to find annoying. I think after Hard Knocks, we're going to just people do not want to see the same guy over and over again. Eventually, they will turn on him. Right now, they're into Rodgers, but I think there's going to be a feeling of celebration if they struggle, which they might not, but their schedule starts off so hard.
Yeah.
That's sort of what I'm getting at. Like, what if they're 3-3 or 2-4? It's going to be this all hands on deck, what went wrong in New York, and that's not fair at all.
Well, there's also, it's a lot of primetime games. Which you can understand. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. So they're not going to be hiding in these like 1 o'clock Sunday starts where you can just sort of gloss over.
We saw that movie last year with Russell Wilson. Hopefully it'll go better than that.
Oh, my gosh. If it goes as bad as Russell Wilson. I can't even wrap my brain around that. There's no chance it could go that bad.
Yeah, I know, but honestly, there's no way we would have wrapped our head around how bad it went with Russell Wilson.
I know. That still feels like a dream.
That being said, the 2 best offensive players got injured before the season. You never know with health. Say Garrett Wilson tweaks a hamstring, then, oh, shoot, we're in trouble.
Probably a little stronger language than that. 855-212-4CBS. Get to the phones here. Why not? Jeff is in California. That's the home state of Aaron Rodgers. Jeff, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. What's on your mind, pal?
So, first of all, nobody cares about the Jets. When you think about it, the only way they would care about the Jets is if Tom Brady was playing for them. When Tom left the Patriots, all they cared about was Tom Brady and the Bucs. They don't have the following. They're not the Steelers. They're not the Cowboys.
Not
they're
the Raiders.
That have this great history. Exactly. So I don't care who plays quarterback for them. No one's going to care about the Jets unless you're a Jets fan.
Yeah, but the Rodgers thing changes it a little bit, Jeff. Thanks so much for the call. Just like he said with Brady, you know, like it changed because Brady was the attraction in Tampa Bay. Obviously, they had a sleeping giant of a team. They go and win the Super Bowl. I mean, Arians is a big, character too, but not a household name. Like my mom doesn't know who Bruce Arians is, but my mom knows Tom Brady or your wife or whatever.
I just honestly don't even remember that much Bucs hype. Like I know
it was the pandemic,
but even so, I'm not sure. Like every press conference would have been must watch. Like everyone's following everything Aaron Rodgers says because for a lot of reasons, he's super interesting.
How about Willie, who's in Arizona? Willie, what's up?
Not much. Just
falling apart, man. I almost wanted to talk to Willie almost even about the weather.
Yeah, it's supposed to be crazy in Arizona.
Crazy hot in Arizona right now for multiple days in a row, over like 110 degrees. Wild. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. All right, let us know what you think. You can't be a Jets fan to participate in this poll.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be everyone else. Rooting for the Jets. Rooting for it to succeed, rooting for it to fail. Okay, coming up, the great debate series continues. Now, last week, we dedicated the week to LeBron versus Michael Jordan. We went all through, the different iterations, different angles of that debate, which, let's be honest, Perloff won most rounds of that fight. I don't even think I was leading on anyone's scorecard at any stretch, but I do appreciate that I made people think about LeBron's career and how it stacks up with Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Thank you for the participation.
I consider you practically the new member of the James family because you're advocating for LeBron's GOAT status.
This week, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going back to greatest of all time. So no years. We're not doing the last 30 years or since 2000 or any of that. Greatest of all time, player at their position on the football field. Greatest of all time, player at their position. We're going to do one offensive and one defensive, and it's not a top 5. You get one. The greatest of all time at their position, you get one. Today, we do wide receivers and cornerback.
Wait, what? I prepared for a long snapper.
We'll do wide receivers next. Greatest all time at their position. And obviously, Perloff and I have 2 different answers. So we'll get to that in just a moment. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff on this Monday. The Weedos and the Purple Drinkers are in full effect in the chat. YouTube.com/CBS Sports Radio. If you're there, hit subscribe. Coming up, greatest of all time. Wide receiver, plus your calls on Aaron Rodgers. We'll take those at 855-212-4227. Don't move. More Maggie and Perloff in just moments.
You're in a 5 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. Minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff, which I wanted to declare today a Jets-free zone. Actually, no, I think I'm more focused on the Jets. By not wanting the Jets to be focused on, then people were... That makes no sense.
Yeah.
But something is rubbing me wrong about this, the way this team is being covered, the things they're saying, the hype, the expectations. Maybe it's because I've seen, as you mentioned earlier, I've seen the Jets fall short so many times. To all of a sudden think that they have their whole act together seems a little crazy to me.
Well, of course it's crazy, but I'm not going to feel bad about going along with the hype and hyping them up because they're hyping themselves up. If they were like, listen, guys, nothing to see here. We got to take this thing one step at a time. They're not doing that at all.
But you understand what's going to happen. So the hype is overboard right now. The criticism is going to be way overboard as well. That's how it works. It's called a rubber band effect. So the Jets are going to get mercilessly ripped if for some reason this doesn't work.
Okay, what if it works? It worked with the Bucs. It worked with the Rams. I know that's in the NFC, but
I think a good work would be 11-6, but that's not working anymore. Now it's 13-4 and go to the Super Bowl.
Honestly, I don't even know if the regular season record even matters that much. Whether they get into the playoffs as a wild card or whether they get in as the division winner, it's all about the postseason for them.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I do think that they need to get really far because think about it, we ripped the Cowboys when they lose in the divisional round. And they don't even have Aaron Rodgers. So I think we will go after them, which is super unfair.
Another team that is always out there with the expectations doesn't run for them. Let's go to the phones and we'll get to our great debate series today, best wide receiver of all time. Eric is in Virginia, has got a thought on Rodgers. Hi, Eric. How are you?
Doing well. My thoughts on Rodgers is that he's closer to the crystal shops now. So I think his ability to buy crystals in person is really going to help him this year.
I thought they were in New Mexico.
Well, New York has a lot more shops than I assume Green Bay does. I haven't done extensive research.
Yeah, no, the math would indicate there's just a little more of everything in New York than Green Bay, right?
So those are my thoughts. And also Mercury's going to be in retrograde for his Week 1 debut, so I'm expecting a loss there.
If that's right.
I think it'll be a good season.
Oh, my gosh, Eric, thank you so much. I thought Mercury was in retrograde right now because of some of the training camp injuries that we've seen have been a little bizarre. But Mercury in retrograde, that's not good for anybody.
Uh-oh. I don't even know what that means.
You don't know about Mercury and retrograde?
I've heard it a million times. It's an astrological thing.
It means when the sun, moon, and stars basically align to mess everything up.
Is that actually happening right now, or you're saying it feels like it is?
No, well, I thought so, but according to Eric, it's week 1.
But I think Eric was just saying that. He didn't actually look at a map, did he?
Well, you never know. Buddy's in Alaska. Hi, Buddy. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hey, thanks for let me have a little opinion here on the New York Jets thing. I have a real quick question. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the hype, and I'm just wondering. I must be missing something.
Yeah.
Because you have Aaron Rodgers coming over, and that seems to be the catalyst for all of this. Oh, they got to go to the Super Bowl, if not long into the playoffs.
Yeah.
What am I missing? Because I'm looking at. We didn't say this about Green Bay every year for the last 5 years. It would be, Aaron's going to have a great year, MVP season, da-da-da. But no one was like, oh, they have all the pieces this year. There's not a real big difference between Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers in New York except for the location. You got a bunch of guys. They're probably in the middle of the pack as far as skill position goes. You're going to have Garrett Wilson, who's going to have his sophomore letdown season like they all do. And I just don't see it. What is it about Aaron Rodgers being in a different location that suddenly he's not the same Aaron Rodgers who cannot get it done? He is not the catalyst for suddenly this being the greatest team that ever walked the face of the earth.
Well, I mean, no one's going to argue with you there. We're not talking about greatest team, but Buddy, you understand where the Rodgers, like there are people, and I used to work with one who played in the NFL who think that Rodgers is the greatest quarterback ever. Like
I think as far as talent goes, I won't disagree. But tell me, other than one Super Bowl year where he's actually gotten done on the field, you would think the way that
that's
they talk
part
about
of it,
this,
though.
You would think the way that they talk about this guy that he gets it done despite the pieces around him. And besides the defensive line and a better defense in New York right now, there's really not a big difference between this year's talent group in New York and with the New York Jets. And the last 2 years' talent group with Green Bay, in my opinion.
Buddy, but that's the whole thing, right? And thank you for the phone call. But that's the whole thing, right? We did criticize Rodgers and the Packers for losing in the divisional round multiple times, for losing an NFC championship at home to Tom Brady in the pandemic. I know there were no fans there, not a true home field advantage, and it was like unseasonably warm that day in Green Bay. But still, like, we do criticize Rodgers for that.
Definitely. And I think the Packers have been a popular Super Bowl pick. The last few years,
definitely.
I mean,
because you have Rodgers, you always have a chance.
Well, they had an easy schedule. They have a defense loaded with first rounders that does really well during the regular season, but then is okay. I mean, listen, they lost that weather game on a block punt to San Francisco. I don't know if you couldn't really blame Rodgers then, but it seems like I wonder if he's onto something. Is Rodgers going to go down like Peyton Manning as a disappointing playoff quarterback?
Well, but Manning ultimately won his last game, which was the Super Bowl. And I know you don't give him a lot of credit for that, but like the record shows he went out as a Super Bowl champion. Yeah, and he won an MVP in Denver too.
But I think he's sort of the poster boy for disappointing playoff quarterbacks. Isn't he, him or Phillip Rivers? I mean, anybody who played against Tom Brady. But he was, they were the one seed many, many years and lost pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think when Peyton added the second Super Bowl, I think it took him away from. I think for most people, it kind of took them out.
What did he do?
Of most disappointing playoff quarterbacks.
I mean, maybe who's his competition?
I think Phillip Rivers is one of them.
Yeah, Rivers, but I think they're very similar.
No, Manning's better than Phillip.
By the way, I can confirm August 23rd to September 14th. Mercury in retrograde.
Oh boy, see. Everyone thought Eric had jokes there. He was just trying to let everybody know. I don't know what you're going to do with that information. All right, let's get to it. The Great Debate Series continues.
The Great Debate Series. Best wide receiver ever.
There you go. So today and this week, we're going to be taking position groups, and we're going to talk, when we say wide receiver, we mean NFL wide receiver, right? We're not going back to the college days to make these arguments.
Oh, it's just their NFL career.
Just their NFL career. So we're not talking about greatest body of work like from, youth football all the way up.
Right, and we're not talking about a guy that was really good at college but didn't do anything in the pros like Tim Tebow of wide receivers.
Yes, so this is just an NFL conversation. I picked a player. Perloff picked a player. We're just doing 1-for-1 here. No top 5 lists, anything like that. So, shall I go first?
Please.
The greatest wide receiver of all time is Jerry Rice. And for that, there is no debate. Jerry may, before Brady won all those Super Bowls, might have been the greatest football player ever. He even had an argument to be made there. What I think is great about and where Jerry really separates himself was his best against the best. So let's just take, for example, Deion Sanders against Jerry Rice. 10 meetings. Rice had 60 receptions, over 1,000 receiving yards, and 11 touchdowns with Sanders covering Rice. I mean, let's go on to the accolades. Hall of Famer, of course. MVP of Super Bowl 23, of course. 3-time Super Bowl champion. Led the league in touchdowns 6 times. And has 22 receptions, receiving touchdowns, in 29 playoff games. He's second in playoff games started, only to Tom Brady. And the longevity, I think, summed up in this one stat, which is his first 1,000-yard-plus receiving season was in his second year, and his last 1,000-yard receiving season was in his 18th year. This is a sustained success over a 20-year career, basically, and still number one on many statistical lists.
Yeah, the guy could play some football. He's not bad.
I know.
He's not bad.
Jerry Rice, number 1. Perloff, go ahead.
Okay, I'm actually going to cede my argument time to somebody who probably has a better idea. How about we hear from my number 1 receiver of all time in NFL history, Randy Moss.
Randy, who's the best receiver to ever play in the NFL?
You talking to him
already?
I put myself first. I put T.O. second. I think Jerry's probably third or fourth. I'm talking about dominating the game and changing the game of football. I don't live on statistics, because if you live on statistics and live on championships, that's all political.
So, Maggie and Perloff could break it down, but what's better than a nuanced conversation with Randy Moss and Terrell Owens debating? Now, I do think this. I think Randy Moss is more talented than Jerry Rice. I think Jerry Rice benefited from being with the greatest, 2 of the top 10 quarterbacks of all time, the single greatest offensive coach in the history of the NFL. If Jerry Rice had gotten drafted by the Cardinals and not the Niners, he wouldn't be top 5 in this list. Where Randy Moss could have been drafted anywhere by anybody. He was the system. And to me, he's the most talented, and also in many ways, in a shorter time, was as prolific, has the all-time record, 23 touchdowns in a season. There was nobody like Randy Moss. He could do different things than Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice was amazing. Obviously, I'm not going to...
You're calling him a compiler, though.
Oh, I will. First of all, you're back to your longevity take.
It always matters. 10-time All-Pro for Jerry Rice.
Yeah, the guy played forever. Even with the Raiders, he was still good. But Randy Moss, we know he took off plays. We know all that. We know that he probably could have gotten more out of his career. But I got to tell you, at his top, Randy Moss is the best wide receiver in the history of the NFL.
I think I got to go with Rice here again, just because of plays like this from Jerry Rice in the Super Bowl. It's not political. It's called production.
Montana back to throw. Throws over the middle. A fight gets for Rice. Rice into the 20. He's down to the 19 for a first down for the 49ers. Another brilliant catch by Jerry Rice.
1 minute left as Rice goes over the 200-yard mark in receiving.
And he was MVP of that Super Bowl. Amazing. I think
that was a Bill Walsh designed slant. Bill Walsh was the GOAT.
Okay, but do you think John Gruden is the GOAT? Because Jerry was also great when he got to Oakland and was with Gruden and the Raiders.
Great?
He's not. That's what I'm saying.
No, I'm saying Rice wasn't great. He was okay.
They got to a Super Bowl and lost. Rice was a part of that.
Yeah, he was still a very good player. It's amazing. His longevity is unbelievable. And also, he's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We're not denigrating the other guy. I just think Randy Moss, if you ask me who's the best wide receiver to ever play in the NFL, my answer is Randy Moss.
Man, I just can't get there. Samter, you look like you want to say something.
Well, I just think for me, Jerry Rice clearly, statistically, like Randy Moss said, is the best. There's no question. He's so far above. But you talk about talent. There's never been a receiver with the size, the speed, the hands, the jumping ability, and everything that Randy Moss has. Talent-wise, hands down, Randy Moss is the most talented wide receiver we've ever seen. No question. Statistically, there's no question that Jerry Rice is the greatest receiver of all time. So it just depends on which way you want to go with it.
But you even acknowledge it yourself. Randy took plays off. You know, there were, like, you can be the most talented, but are you also most engaged? Like, there is a part of this, and listen, I think it's fine for wide receivers to have big personalities. I'm not someone who ever held stuff against T.O. or anything like that, but Jerry was not that guy. No. You want to talk about someone who never caused a headache or anything, it was Jerry Rice.
I don't know.
Very rare.
Jerry, I don't think Jerry was quite the saint you're making him out to be. He was obviously a big team player. Randy Moss, however, if he didn't take those plays off and do those things, then he couldn't do the spectacular stuff. That's all part of the package. I understand this. It sounds so stupid, but he's like a comet streaking across the sky and catching touchdowns, where Jerry Rice was in this great West Coast offense. They invented the West Coast offense, and it was like a million paper cuts. Boom, boom, boom. Just kept hitting and kept accumulating yards and touchdowns. And that's why, to me, he's the third best wide receiver of all time.
Yeah, who's two?
Well, Calvin Johnson, but I disagreed with Randy Moss there. No, I'm just kidding. Jerry's second. Calvin's the second most talented. Randy Moss is the most talented.
So we're getting some questions in the chat, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio, or maybe some suggestions. Craig saying, what about Larry Fitzgerald as number 2, he's saying. Craig also saying, what about Marvin Harrison, number 3?
I think it's hard to distinguish Marvin Harrison from that offense, because similar to Jerry in the sense that Peyton Manning was throwing to him, so who knows who would he have been somewhere else?
I know, but see, this is, if you're just saying they're a product of the system all the time, I mean, I know you also think Tom Brady was a system quarterback, but when we get to quarterbacks, which we're going to do on Wednesday, do you not put Tom Brady there because Bill Belichick might be the greatest coach of all time, and they happen to team up for 20 years?
Bill Belichick wasn't a great offensive coach.
He's a defensive coach,
so
but still.
Brady gets a lot of it. No, but I do think, has it ever struck you as weird that the greatest quarterback and the greatest wide receiver and a Hall of Fame running back all landed in the same spot at the same time? Or is it because they were all helping out each other and the system took them from where they were as a very, very good players to next level beyond all time?
Okay, but you got to be up for that challenge, because we're talking about the Jets and hype this year and whether they're going to live up to your expectations. We get a lot of really a talented collection of guys, and they don't do jack squat. So
they did. Bill Walsh was their coach.
Well, okay, but that's also, you give credit to the front office, you give credit to the coaching staff and everyone on the same page, not to mention they were dealing with like an all-time ridiculous quarterback situation that in this day and age, as opposed to in the 90s, I don't know if that would have been a tenable situation. With the media, it would have been, to have Montana and Young on the same team would have just been crazy. We can barely have, Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love on the same team. And that's like not even close.
Oh, man. The Twitter era would have been great for that, though.
Brady didn't even want Garoppolo on the team. Imagine.
I think we're getting a little off target there. I don't know how we got into the Steve Young, Joe Montana.
No, I'm just saying that I think that it's not a negative, because you had a great coach with great players and they all became Hall of Famers. I think that's a positive to show that everyone is pulling in the right direction, because we often get a lot of teams that look like super teams that fail to live up to expectations.
Right.
So I don't want to take away from a team that doesn't fail to do that.
So the super team, though, is this idea that talented players are going to be able to do it, when it's really the system more than the talent. The most talented teams do not win things. That's just the way it is, in my opinion. Of course, that's how nobody agrees with me on this. But generally, I don't think talent wins. I think a lot of different things. I think teamwork is just as important.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. So there you go. The greatest wide receiver of all time. I'm going with Jerry Rice. Perloff is going with Randy Moss. Let us know what you think. We get to your phone calls. And could there be an issue with the reigning Super Bowl champs? Get to all the drama going on in Kansas City. Not used to saying those words. After this CBS Sports Update with Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flag.
And this report is sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Insurance for motorcycles, boats, and RVs. For protection on the road and on the water, see how much you can save at 1-800-PROGRESSIVE and Progressive.com. Well, Kadarius Toney of the Chiefs reportedly expected to be ready for the start of the season after tweaking a previous knee injury yesterday, while Friday, the top pick signed today. The number 2 is in the fold, with the Texans coming to terms with C.J. Stroud. The former Ohio State quarterback gets a 4-year deal worth just over $36 million. Anthony Richardson also getting his rookie deal in place with the Colts. His contract is worth $34 million. The Lions dodged a big bullet today when C.J. Gardner-Johnson had to be helped off the field with a knee injury, but he is reportedly day-to-day after suffering no structural damage. And the Bills will have to find a new return man as Nyheim Hines expected to miss the season after a freak jet skiing accident in which the veteran running back was struck by another rider while sitting stationary on his. One-day game in the major leagues today. It was the Detroit Tigers knocking off the Giants, who have now lost 6 in a row. 5-1 was the final. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Looking for CBS Sports Radio online? Your favorite hosts and the best sports content and entertainment are available 24/7 on social media and YouTube, and in the palm of your hand with the free Odyssey app.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's that time to Ask the Pros, where you can ask us a question. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at CBS Sports Radio or at Maggie and Pearl using the hashtag #AskThePros. Be listening later in the show, and we might answer your question. Got to think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. It is Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio. I want to get to the phones because we debuted our newest iteration of the Great Debate Series. This week, we're doing NFL positions, greatest player at their position. So we're going to do one offensive and one defensive position each day. And we started off with wide receiver. Later on in the show, we're going to do cornerback. Yeah. So wide receiver and corner, you see how it kind of matches up there. I have Jerry Rice. Perloff has Randy Moss. Jay is in Alaska. Hello, Jay. How are you?
Hey, how's it going? Now, you understand I'm coming at you guys as a diehard, lifelong, bleed silver and black Raider fan.
Okay.
And I hate the 49ers. But, Maggie, you are absolutely correct, and it's like vinegar coming out of my mouth to say that. But it's Jerry Rice all alone on top of the mountain. If you want to have a lively discussion about every other wide receiver other than Jerry Rice as who's the best, absolutely you can do that. But there's nobody even close to Jerry Rice. And Perloff, as far as I'm concerned, Randy Moss, Steve Largent, and Megatron are three wide receivers who are wasted. They are super talented, could have been as good as Jerry Rice, but they are wasted on crappy organizations, on crappy teams who never won anything. So those guys, unfortunately, got the shaft because they played on crappy organizations. But
Wait,
I tell people all the
Jay,
time.
are you aware that Randy Moss went 16-0 with the New England Patriots?
Yeah, but did they win the Super Bowl?
No, but I mean,
did he win anything? No.
I mean, that organization has some success, though.
As far as I'm concerned, even Michael Irvin's got it over Randy Moss because Michael Irvin won Super Bowls. You know, and
wide receiver,
I think Randy Moss is a better wide receiver than Michael Irvin, but he produced. You know what I'm saying? You know, and I tell people all the time that the 49ers, that team during Jerry Rice and Joe Montana is the greatest quarterback of all time. He played on the greatest team of all time. That team was chock full of Hall of Famers. That was one of the greatest teams that ever lived.
Jay, see,
I hate the 49ers.
I appreciate you crossing over, and thank you for the phone call over to the dark side there of your team that you didn't like to compliment one of their greatest players. But so here's the thing about wide receiver. It is so dependent. It's so dependent on who is throwing you the ball. It's so and who's throwing you the ball is in a lot of ways really dependent on who's blocking for the quarterback. And there's so much that goes into it. Now, that's why I think a guy like Tim Brown always deserves so much more credit because he played with like 20 different quarterbacks. Yeah. I mean, he had God knows who a lot of the time throwing to him and still is a Hall of Fame quarterback. But that's
absolutely.
not what this
and
is
Larry
about today.
Fitzgerald, I think you can make the same argument. But he did say that if Randy Moss, Calvin Johnson, and for some reason Steve Largent had different quarterbacks, they might have been better than Rice. So that plays into a little bit of my argument. Steve Largent, by the way.
Yeah, that was an interesting callback.
At the time when Steve Largent retired, I think he might have been was he the all-time leader when he retired?
Yeah,
was
but
close.
but that was not going to last.
But he was great. He had the catch record. He was a big time player.
How about Jerome, who's calling us from Las Vegas? Hi, Jerome.
Hey guys, I agree with Alaska. I agree with Maggie all the way. It's got to be Rice. You know, you can't fault the guy for having a lot of help. I mean, that's like saying, well, Babe Ruth wasn't that good because as good as
he was on the 27 Yankees. Right.
Because he had Lou Gehrig hitting behind him. What if
that is Gehrig? Oh, wait. What are you? No. That's ridiculous. You're saying Jerry Rice in the sport of football was like Babe Ruth on the 27 Yankees? It's Babe Ruth you're talking about. Well, he was not a recipient of the fact that he saw lots of fastballs. He was Babe Ruth.
Well, okay, but that's my law. You understand what I'm trying to say. Right. I mean, Perloff, I agree with you a lot, but I think your argument for Moss is full of a lot of what ifs, coulda, shoulda, woulda. But you got
now who's making excuses? Yeah. Last week I was making excuses for LeBron. Now,
but you got to go with the results that were there. Not if Moss had Montana. Well, could have been, but you got to go with the results. Every player has help. When you break it down, everybody has help.
Yeah.
Everybody has a good supporting cast. Every great player ever in any sport, so you can't fault them for that.
Well, Jerome, and thank you for the phone call. I got what you were saying the whole time. You're not going to fault somebody. Like, I'm not faulting Jerry Rice. I'm not taking away from him because he happened to play with great players and have great coaching. In fact, I think that shows even more, like the fact that you could keep it together, the fact that you could, no disease of me. The fact that they kept that, basically, the 49ers were incredible through two different quarterbacks who were Hall of Famers. Like, it was awesome. And two different coaches. Like, George Seifert did win one of those Super Bowls.
I think that's a complete misunderstanding to compare Jerry Rice in the West Coast offense to Babe Ruth to the 27 Yankees. Because Babe Ruth was such a shining light in this. He was so overwhelmingly more talented than everybody else.
Well, Lou Gehrig was really great.
And also, baseball is so different than baseball. Basically, it's pitcher against a batter. It's not football where a wide receiver is depending on so many different things. There's so many moving parts, and the coach is so important in the play call. There's no play call for Babe Ruth. Just get up there and hit that ball over the fence.
Yeah, but you understand what protection in a lineup is. I know you do.
Yeah, I do. Well, I'm saying I understand it, but to think that they're anywhere close is crazy to me. You're saying protection in a lineup is a lot like what Jerry Rice and the Montana were doing?
But there is such a thing as protection. You do see different pitches depending on who's hitting behind you in baseball.
But it's not that impactful.
Well, I mean, but it's not. It's not like football. I don't want to split hairs here. It's not like football.
Hairs. They're not even close.
But the greater point was, take Babe Ruth out of it. The greater point was, do you dock somebody on these great all-time debates because they had great teammates and great coaching? Like, you don't dock Michael Jordan for having great coaching and Phil Jackson and having Hall of Fame teammates around him, and you didn't do that last week.
So different with basketball and football. And also, Jordan was, he was the singular force on that team. Jerry Rice was part of an offense. It's a completely different sport.
But that's also the position he plays. Like, there's no way he can't bring the ball up the floor. It just doesn't exist.
Football is a team sport. Baseball is an individual sport, and basketball somewhere in between.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Okay, you're welcome to weigh in. Also, one team is at the biggest crossroads in the history of their franchise. Will they make the right decision? We'll get to that in just a moment. Don't move. Maggie, Perloff, you. CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
If you're just joining us, Perloff is putting the finishing touches on 16 ounces of peanut butter. The man is a legend. Got the closer spoon, and Andrew Perloff, like Usain Bolt, cruising to the finish line. Last bite.
I flew way too close to the sun. Now I'm about to throw up all over the sun. Something feels wrong.
Yeah. Something looks wrong.
I don't feel well.
Ooh.
I'm glad I got through the first jar. That second jar was the biggest mistake of my entire life.
Yeah.
I was doing so good.
It took years off your life. Thank you, Ack, for correcting his grammar.
Ack, honestly, I can choose which way to throw up. I'm definitely going to stop talking.
They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff on this Monday. So much to get to, including our great debate series, which continues this week. Greatest player at their position of all time. We're going NFL football here. Done wide receiver. I had Jerry Rice. Perloff had Randy Moss. We'll get to corner in just a couple minutes. But Perloff, did you see Shohei Ohtani's latest start has been pushed back by a day?
Okay.
Now, nothing nefarious going on here as the trade deadline is a week from tomorrow. But they push back his start to give him 6 days rest in between starts, number one. And also because the Angels are embarking on this big road trip and they wanted Shohei to pitch in Toronto as opposed to pitch in Toronto and not have to pitch in Atlanta, where they go after Toronto to play a day game. So they're trying to keep him out of the really hot weather. They think that will create, causes blister maybe to come back. So for a variety of reasons, Shohei Ohtani's start got pushed back. Now, a lot of people, and I'm one of them, believe that this would be the last start that Ohtani would make as an Angel. Because to me, as you're looking at the Angels, and I know they've won 5 of 6, they sweep the Yankees, so everyone's feeling good, but the reality of the situation is that you are not a formidable team if you even make the playoffs, right? And so why would you let Ohtani basically walk away for almost nothing? You know, you get not the compensatory pick. What do they call it? Basically the compensatory pick.
Okay.
But you don't get the full return on trading the most electrifying player in the game right now.
Right.
They got to trade him.
So I would like to do a show bet. I do not think they will trade him.
Why not?
I don't think.
Should they or they won't?
I think both. I think they won't, and I don't think they should. Because, first of all, they're only 4 games back of the wild card. And just getting into that baseball tournament, crazy things happen. The Phillies only won 87 games last year and made the World Series. Made 6 games in the World Series. So I wouldn't worry about being a weak playoff team because everybody's a weak playoff team. You never know what's going to happen in the postseason. The other thing, too, is what are you going to really get back? You're probably not going to trade. The best farm system is the Dodgers. You're not going to trade them to the Dodgers.
Well, besides the Angels, Dodgers are the best odds to land Ohtani.
I see. That's what I said. That's why I don't think he's going to be traded because I don't think owner Artie Moreno is going to do that. He's been competing with the Dodgers since he got there. I don't think he's going to want to give the most exciting player in baseball up. The other thing, too, a few things. I think prospects are always iffy. I always see these mega baseball trades, and I'm like, what happened to those prospects? Oh, yeah, they're off farming somewhere. I don't even know what those guys do. The other thing, too, is Ohtani might be chasing Aaron Judge's home run record, and I think Artie Moreno is going to want that. And I think that to give that away for sort of a variable return, you know, they could be great players. They're certainly not going to be Shohei Ohtani or anywhere close. And the other thing, too, is Mike Trout's coming back. A lot of other guys are coming back for them, and they're only 4 games back. So they have a really great chance of competing. I think half a year of electric playoff contention, even the chance of it, is more than the Angels are going to get out of 10 years with these prospects.
Yeah, but you got to be careful here because you're going to that's the short term versus the long term. And I know you say a lot of these baseball prospect trades, you know, don't work out, but it's giving yourself as many bites as the apple as humanly possible. And if Ohtani leaves for nothing, then you're known as the organization that never got anything out of Ohtani. Because say they missed the playoffs. That means you had, 5 years of Ohtani? Has it been 5 years already? Of Ohtani with not one playoff series to show for it, not one playoff game. And I think you live more in infamy for that than for trading him to the Dodgers and hopefully getting some of the Dodgers' great prospects. Like, to me, it's criminal not to trade him. You have, if you own a team and you are responsible to a fan base, you've got to be constantly thinking about the long term. Do you think if they could go back, that the Cleveland Cavaliers, if they knew LeBron was going to leave them for Miami, they wouldn't have tried to trade him to get anything in return? Of course they would have.
I think that the fan base would kill Moreno if they traded him.
They hate him anyway.
Yeah, well,
kill him more. I mean,
I think Moreno wants to be not the guy who traded Ohtani. I think if Ohtani leaves the Angels, at least the blame is shared. It's kind of Ohtani's fault. I mean, not his fault. He doesn't want to be there, and the fans can understand that. But you might as well go for this one magical run because, listen, the Angels can't develop prospects anyway. I think they have a great chance to make a little run here, get to the playoffs with Shohei. Who knows? I mean, there's an outside chance he could come back. I know it doesn't sound reasonable, but I don't think there's anything that can be equal to the next. How many months are left? 2 months? 3 months?
Yeah.
3 months with Shohei, especially if he's chasing Judge. And listen, the team wants money. Obviously, who's going to go to an Angels game if Shohei's not there?
No, I get that.
And the other thing, too, is Trout is watching this, too. So if you trade Ohtani, how do you know Trout's not going to say, send me out next?
Well, because they paid him more money than God, and he still hasn't asked for a trade. I mean,
True.
I think that I don't think Mike Trout wants to rock the boat in any kind of way. But for Ohtani, I think it does make Trout look even worse if Ohtani leaves because he can't stand the losing and Mike Trout stays. He's like, no, I'm actually cool with the losing. Just keep paying me $400 million contracts over and over. I mean, yes, you do get fan bases and butts in the seats with Ohtani chasing Judge, but as the Yankees found out, and I'm sure the Yankees made a lot of money off of Judge chasing that record, but where did he actually break the record? Texas. So they didn't even have the actual game where he broke the actual record. They got every game leading up to it, so I understand. They sold a lot of tickets, but they didn't even get the moment.
Well, they don't. I mean, I think the Angels have a lot more reason to try to sell tickets. The Yankees are going to sell tickets anyway. The Angels got nothing else. They really need this.
No, the Yankees clearly are hard up for cash because they had to put advertisement on the sleeve. So they need every penny from Star Insurance or whatever it is.
Which is, by the way, working because I had a problem with my car insurance the other day, and I thought, what was the name of that company that goes on the Yankees patch?
Don't tell them that.
Does anyone know what kind of insurance Star does?
Do
they do car insurance? Because I'm in.
I guess the advertising is working. Okay, let's get to the Great Debate Series Part 2.
The Great Debate Series. Best cornerback ever.
We've already done wide receiver. I have Jerry Rice. Perloff has Randy Moss. Now we go to cornerback. Perloff, you get the floor first.
Okay, I'm going to go sort of against the grain here. I'm going with a man named Rod Woodson. So I looked at a lot of guys here. Obviously, Dion, obviously Darrelle Revis, obviously Charles Woodson. I could go down the list. There are a lot of great ones. But then I sort of looked into the numbers here. Rod Woodson, third all-time interceptions, 71 interceptions. Now, remember, every quarterback threw 45 interceptions a year back in the day. So Dick Night Train Lane and all those guys are going to be all-time. The modern era, there's no one even close to Rod Woodson. He's first all-time in interception return yards. He's first all-time in interceptions returned for a touchdown. He has 20 forced fumbles, 32 fumble recoveries, first all-time among all defensive players. Has tons of tackles, 11-time Pro Bowler, 13.5 sacks, Defensive Player of the Year award. He's got it all. I kind of know where you're going. And for me, what makes Rod Woodson different is that he was a complete player. He wasn't just a great cover corner. He was a dominant player all over the field. So he edges a really, really close field for me as the greatest corner the NFL has had.
Okay, I see you that and raise you somebody who was so talented they didn't even play their sport full time and still is known as the greatest at their position, and it's Deion Sanders as the greatest quarterback ever, the 6-time All-Pro, Defensive Player of the Year, 94. He's number 2 in non-offensive career touchdowns scored. That's higher than Rod Woodson. And number 1
Well, yeah, but that was a lot of returns.
Okay, but talk about versatility. You want to talk about Woodson.
I want to talk about defense, not special teams.
Okay, but I think that all matters, right? Because Deion's...
specifically, no.
Oh, I think it has to play
punt returns?
I think the fact that in terms of athleticism and being able to do that, for sure.
No, because you can't be the greatest cornerback and say he was also an amazing punt returner.
I think you're looking at great cornerback, and we know that Deion was the best, and it's just a feather in his cap that he also was, contributing to the team, sometimes on the offensive side of the ball, on special teams.
Yes, I know. That can't count. Okay, I like where you're going. I do understand your argument, but you got to separate that out. But go ahead.
Okay.
And by the way, Deion doesn't need all that. He's still amazing. I agree with that.
I mean... But Woodson also was punt return and kick return, too.
Yeah, no, Rod Woodson was an awesome returner, but I didn't count that in any of the stats I gave you.
I also think... Don't worry about it because...
I did.
Deion has more punt returns and kick returns for touchdowns than Rod Woodson. But...
Yeah, it was Devin Hester. Does this mean Devin Hester is the best cornerback because he played cornerback in Miami? And
Devin
he's a great returner.
Devin Hester is number 1, actually, on the list of non-offensive career touchdowns.
Yeah, he's amazing.
And he had 20, and Deion had 19. So it's not
Devin Hester didn't even play defense.
And it's not like, that was he ran away with it. Deion also, not to say that Rod Woodson didn't have this, but there was no way that Deion was ever going to be able to have the all-time interceptions in his favor, because no quarterback would be that stupid to keep throwing to that side of the ball where Deion Sanders is.
Yes.
And so the fact that he was even playing baseball and was not even like a full-time football player is just the most ridiculous part about this. Imagine any other person in football being able to say, I was actually doing something else, and something that Deion has said is harder. He says baseball is harder than football, and is still the all-time greatest at his position.
I think you're bringing in a lot of cool Deion things. Are you going to mention that he had a great start at Colorado in the transfer portal?
He scored a touchdown in one game and then hit a home run in another in the same day.
Deion is the best cover cornerback that ever played football. He doesn't need all that stuff.
Okay, but I like to bring the tangibles.
But he didn't do anything else on the field. That's the thing. He
was not going to tackle anybody.
You
No
were more
sacks.
likely to tackle somebody. He never, ever blitzed. Rod Woodson could do it all.
Woodson has a lot of sacks, too.
I have 13 and a half.
Yeah, for a corner.
But he was actually considered a great blitzing corner. Now, so that's the only reason. I got to admit, if I had to shut down one receiver, I could. If you said Deion, I'd be like, great. Rod Woodson did so many other things that I'm going to push him up a little more. Also, I actually consider all that Deion stuff as a negative. It's funny, all the baseball. I thought that Deion was not as dedicated to football and wasn't as available as some of the other cornerbacks on this list. Now, he did play a ton of games. It's not like he totally shirked football, but I thought, you know what, Deion, the fact that he also was, had so many other interests and played baseball and was sort of like a one-man branding machine, I thought that almost took away. If he just focused on playing cornerback, he would have been even more amazing.
He already is great, and I think it adds to his mystique the fact that he was the best at his position and still could do these other things. And by the way, we talked about wide receivers, and you said Randy Moss, who took plays off, and you never said that hurt his argument that he wasn't all in all the time.
Well, I got to tell you, can I tell you one side? The two greatest, well, Devin Hester too, but have you ever seen Randy Moss or Deion return a punt? It is like, Randy barely ever did it, but it's the two most electric things you'll ever see in your life. Because those guys, if we were talking about who's the most exciting, oh my God, Deion by 50 miles. But best cornerback.
Deion.
Rod Woodson.
Let's go to the phones. 855-212-4CBS. Peter's in Portland, Oregon's got someone he'd like us to consider. Hello, Peter. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I wanted to say the other Woodson, Charles Woodson, should be on the list.
Yeah.
Poor guy got cheated out of the tuck rule. That would have changed the Raiders' career, and he was good in Green Bay.
He was, Peter. Charles Woodson on so many of these lists. Obviously, he's a Hall of Famer as well. Only a 3-time All-Pro. I'm not say only. I mean, it's incredible, but not up there with Deion as a 6-time All-Pro. And how many All-Pros did Woodson have? Rod, that is.
I think 8.
I mean, listen, Charles Woodson was amazing too.
I'm sorry, 6 for Rod Woodson.
Defensive Player of the Year. Let's not forget that.
Charles Woodson was awesome.
He was so good.
Yeah. And by the way, can we just say Revis and Champ Bailey were also great, and the old time guys seem great. I didn't see a lot of Night Train Lane, but it's a great nickname.
855-212-4CBS. Frank is calling in on 96.7 FM in Pennsylvania. Hello, Frank.
Hi, how you guys doing?
Doing great.
I said Perloff's got the right team, but the wrong quarterback. I mean, Mel Blount, and I grew up in the 70s watching the Steelers. I mean, they made a rule. I mean, when you were allowed to chuck, and then when you weren't, he still won, led the league in interceptions, and he was just a monster. I mean, hitting people. I mean, he could have played linebacker in today's NFL.
Yeah, highlights of Mel Blount are terrifying. So he was a cornerback who just laywayed people, right?
Oh, yeah. And just, like I said, he led the NFL in interceptions, I think, the year after they made the Mel Blount rule in 78 or something there, or led the team. I mean, he was, I don't know. I love Rod Woodson, too. Like I said, I'm a Steeler fan, obviously. Like I said, yes, I'd take both of them over Deion because Deion couldn't tackle my wife.
Frank, thank you for the phone call. Yeah, we're in our chat, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. A lot of votes there also for Mel Blount. Listen, we're going to actually talk to a Steelers corner coming up next. Bryant McFadden is going to join us to weigh and add a little credibility to this debate.
Mel Blount, by the way, was 6'3" and had to be 220. He was He was. I think he'd be a safety now, but I don't quite understand how that worked.
Yeah, I mean, according to Craig, it was 1978 when the Mel Blount rule. I wasn't sure the rule, but according to Craig in the chat, 1978, and it prohibited, the defensive back's contact with a receiver. You could just lay people out.
Yeah.
Before that, it was like the real Wild West.
Real football.
Let's go to Will, who's in Myrtle Beach. He's got a good one for us. Hey, Will, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm going to say Darryl Green.
Yeah, so
there
good.
Wasn't a player on the field he wouldn't chase down. He was undersized, and nobody threw his way. And when they did throw, it was minimal catches.
He was so good. And
for 20 years.
I know. And one-time All-Pro, though. Not that we have to only go by the statistics here, but I was really surprised by this. Never won Defensive Player of the Year?
I wonder, if that kind of cornerback was valued the same way. Obviously, we did pretty modern guys.
Thank you, Will.
Cornerback is way more valuable now than it used to be. Now you see cornerbacks.
Well, because it's such a passing game.
Yeah, it's such a passing game. You see them go in the top 5 of the draft. I'd have to look at the stats, but I don't think it was that way 30 years ago when it was more of a run game.
Also came in second in Defensive Rookie of the Year voting.
What year? Let me see if I can guess who's ahead of him.
1983.
1980. Well, is LT a rookie there? No. He was before that.
Wait, hold on. They're giving me. Stand by 1 second. No, it wouldn't have been that. It would have been LT. Hold on 1 sec.
LT was 81, right? So, Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, 83. Darryl Green, second in voting. So it was Mike Cousineau. No, I have no idea who.
Vernon Maxwell, the Baltimore Colts, outside linebacker.
Oh, my God. And later, a great shooting guard for the Houston Rockets.
What about
my joke?
Wait, sorry. I got sidetracked for a second. We're talking about greatest corner ever and wide receiver ever. So that's what our great debate series is. I have Deion Sanders as corner. Perloff has Rod Woodson. For wide receiver, I have Jerry Rice. Perloff has Randy Moss. I got sidetracked, though. The 1983 Offensive Rookie of the Year voting. Eric Dickerson narrowly beating out Dan Marino.
Oh, wow.
How about that?
Ooh.
And third was someone named Kurt Warner, C-U-R-T.
Oh, yeah.
Warner.
Seahawks.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Seahawks running back. Okay, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Forgive me for getting a little sidetracked on Football Reference, Pro Football Reference page. Coming up, as I said, Bryant McFadden is going to join us, host of the All Things Covered podcast, but also former corner for the Pittsburgh Steelers and Super Bowl champion. So we'll talk a little Rod Woodson, we'll talk a little Mel Blount, we'll talk all of it with him next. It is Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio. Don't move.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. Minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. You're catching us smack dab in the middle of our great debate series. This week, we're doing greatest player at their position of all time, and we're talking about the NFL. We're going to do 2 positions a day for the rest of the week. Today, we did wide receiver and corner. My wide receiver, easy, Jerry Rice. Perloff?
Randy Moss.
My corner, Deion Sanders. Yours?
Rod Woodson, because obviously, if you're talking cornerback, you have to go Steelers.
So let's talk to a former Steelers cornerback, and that's Bryant McFadden, who's a 2-time Super Bowl champion. He's CBS Sports HQ NFL analyst. He's the host of the All Things Covered podcast, which, Bryant, I swear we play one clip a day from your podcast because you guys make so much news. You do an awesome job. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Yo, it's always a pleasure to join you guys. Thank you for having me. I'm excited for football just like you are, so it should be a fun ride.
I know. Let's do this. Okay, so the great debate series, wide receiver and corner. That's why we wanted to have you on today specifically. So let's start corner because that's a position that you played. I had Deion Sanders, greatest of all time. Perloff had Rod Woodson. What do you say?
Oh, my goodness. This is a tough situation. You can close your eyes and pick the right answer. There's no wrong answer with this. I had the luxury of having Rod Woodson on All Things Covered with me and Patrick Peterson. Outstanding career. So this is what I will do. All right. I'm okay with either direction, prime time or Rod Woodson. But I'd like to throw 2 new names into this conversation, 2 names you guys didn't mention. Dick Night Train Lane and the great Mel Blount.
Okay.
I think
explain why they should be in that conversation.
Well, Night Train Lane was considered one of the more feared players in the game, especially during a time where they didn't really throw the football. Close to 70 interceptions. He has the rookie interception record still to this day in 12 games. I think he had 14 interceptions in 12 games. And I had Dick LeBeau on All Things Covered as well. And he just highlighted how good and how dominant Night Train was during a time where they were probably throwing the football 15 to 18 times, but no one threw his way. And when they did, he made them pay. And not to mention, he was a 6'4" corner, 200-plus pound corner in a day and age where that body size was designated for a defensive lineman. And then when you talk about Mel Blount, Hall of Famer, 6'3", 6'4", literally changed the game. He was so dominant, they put a Mel Blount rule in. I feel like anytime they put a rule in place because of your dominance, you have to be considered one of the best to do it at your position. And the way how we look at the game and how it's played in regards to cornerbacks and the 5-yard contact rule and things like that, all of that was birthed from Mel Blount and what he and how he dominated opposing wide receivers. So that's why I would throw those two names into the conversation. I don't think there is a wrong answer, but I can go either direction. But I felt like I got to give those guys some love as well.
It's funny. Those guys are Mel Blount was 6'3" as well. When you change a rule, Will Chamberlain, how many rules changed because of him? He was amazing. But I have a question about sort of this. Deion did not do a lot of tackling. If you were going to weigh him versus Rod Woodson, does that matter for a cornerback in the last 30 years?
I mean, it's a personal preference, but I think it should matter. And I think that's why Rod excelled in so many positions in the secondary. You know, he excelled as a corner. He excelled as a safety at the nickel spot. Everywhere he was positioned in the secondary, he excelled because he was an all-around defensive back. And he talked about tackling, the willingness to tackle while he played the game. And that's why he was so versatile as well. I think that should be taken into consideration. And people make it seem like Deion just didn't tackle at all. I mean, he tackled, but he was just so prolific in other areas where if you had to really pinpoint and talk about something or nitpick about something, it was his tackling. And he wasn't just a huge liability in regards to that game, in that area of his game. But, you know, there's always a topic of discussion. But me personally, coming from Pittsburgh, you know, as a cornerback, you're going to have to tackle. You're going to have to tackle. You're going to have to want to tackle. And that's who Rod Woodson was as a player.
Bryant McFadden is our guest. He's a 2-time Super Bowl champion, CBS Sports HQ NFL analyst, also the host of the All Things Covered podcast, which is phenomenal. We're big fans. All right, let's flip over to the wide receiver. Now, you wouldn't have played with Jerry because Jerry Rice would have retired, I believe, the year before you got into the league, but you did play against Randy Moss. Perloff has Randy Moss as his greatest wide receiver of all time. I have Jerry. You actually were on a field with one of these guys. Is Randy or Jerry Bryant the best in your opinion?
I'll answer this like this, Maggie. Jerry is the best wide receiver. Randy is the most feared wide receiver.
Is that right?
Right. I think that's the best way to answer this question. In regards to Jerry being the best, look at the longevity in which he sustained dominance. He just was a consistent playmaker throughout his entire time in San Francisco. For Randy, he jumped on the scene in Minnesota, went out to Oakland, kind of died down a little bit, rejuvenated his career in New England. Then he goes to San Francisco, made some plays, but not the plays that we grown accustomed to seeing him make. And then he transitioned to Tennessee, where many people don't even remember Randy ever playing for the Tennessee Titans, right? But when he was in his peak years, he was the most feared player, probably the most feared offensive player to ever play in the National Football League. But no one has sustained the level of success that Jerry Rice was able to sustain. You talk about playing with Joe Montana, losing Joe Montana, Steve Young, didn't miss a beat. A lot of that had to do with throwing the football to Jerry Rice because People say he wasn't a fast player, but he was oftentimes behind people in the coverage in the back end. Outstanding route runner, sure-handed guy. I have yet to see a highlight when Jerry misses a pass. And I'm pretty sure it is out there, but it's such a rare thing that you don't see it. So in regards to the best to ever do it at that position, I'll go Jerry Rice. I think it's fair. But in regards to being the most feared offensive player ever, I think the only answer is Randy Moss.
It's a good distinction.
I want to ask about one of your teammates, a wide receiver. How high do you think Antonio Brown gets on these all-time wide receiver lists?
Oh, my goodness. Yo, I'll say this. If Antonio Brown stayed the course and just stayed dialed in and stayed with Pittsburgh, or even just if he moved elsewhere like he did, if he just stayed dialed in, Antonio Brown, when it's all said and done, he would have been a top 3, top 2 wide receiver ever in the National Football League. Ever. I don't care anything about him being under 6 feet. I don't care anything about him not being a 4'2", 4'3". We all witnessed the greatness from Antonio Brown. It didn't matter who he was going against. It didn't matter what time of the year it was. He showed up and he showed out. And I think if he stayed the course, I had DK Metcalf on the podcast as well. You know, DK is a lot younger than a lot of us, right? He had Antonio Brown, his number 1 receiver ever to do it. Now, he probably didn't really remember watching Jerry Rice play, but that tells you just the respect that Antonio Brown has currently. And his entire career wasn't finished because of some issues away from the football field. But to answer your question, man, I think Antonio would have been clearly worst case scenario, top 3 all time. Best case scenario, number 2, right on the heels of Jerry Rice. And the difference clearly between Jerry Rice would have been the championships, of course. You know what I mean? But outside of that, name me a player that had a more dominant six-year run than Antonio against the who's of who and still putting up numbers.
Bryant, we were talking last week off of your interview with DK Metcalf about Antonio Brown's Hall of Fame candidacy and how if that's going to be complicated at all because of some of the off-the-field things. Want to get your thoughts about the Steelers right now. You're going to be spending some time at Steelers camp and at Philadelphia Eagles camp. Of course, Perloff, massive Eagles fan here. So for the Steelers, though, I feel like we talked about this maybe a couple weeks ago, and I kind of made an offhand comment, and it got a lot of reaction when I said, I don't think the Steelers are going to be a playoff team this year. Was that unfair for me to say that and to think that way about the Steelers going into the season?
You know what, Maggie? It's not unfair for you to think that way. I think it is deserving because you don't really know, right? There's a lot of unknowns with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the biggest unknown is the quarterback. In a division where they have a lot of star power at that position, can Kenny Pickett stay with the pack, the other 3 guys at the quarterback position in the AFC North? But one thing I can say in regards to the structure that the Pittsburgh Steelers have, they're probably one of the more structured organizations in their division with one of the best head coaches in the division. And if you look at the last few years, it's safe to say there was a nice gap in talent for the Pittsburgh Steelers when you compare them to the other teams in their division. Now I think that gap has started to decrease some. They have really improved the talent level on both sides of the football. So now it's about staying healthy. And secondly, well, first and foremost, the quarterback play developing, Kenny Pickett taking a huge step in year 2 and just staying healthy. So I understand your opinion now, but if you look at the structure of this roster, right? If you look at the roster from top to bottom and just see it how we see it on paper right now, and then you factor in the coaching and the foundation, Pittsburgh can be right there. And one thing I can say, even going back to a year ago, Perloff and Maggie, if you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and just how inconsistent the quarterback play was, they still split against every team in the division a year ago.
All right. Talking expectations, a bit of a left turn. How far do the New York Jets have to go to meet the hype that they are getting right now, Bryant?
Clearly, postseason play, Perloff, I'll say this. Worst case scenario, they got to get to the second round.
And then everyone's going to be okay. Everyone will be okay if they get the second round and Aaron Rodgers loses.
And I'll say this, Perloff, they can get to the second round by having a first round bye.
Okay.
Right? Now, if they have a first round bye and you're already in the second round, those Jets fans, and you got a home game, they're expecting you to get to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're expecting that. So I'll say worst case scenario, second round playoff opportunity for the New York Jets.
So if they don't make it, say, the Super Bowl, Jets fans will be okay. Because I hear some Jets fans are talking Super Bowl or bust.
Yeah, I'll say, yeah, because come on, Jets fans, let's keep it real. You haven't been to the playoffs since, what, 2010, right?
Yep.
2010, over 10 years ago. So you haven't been to the playoffs in over a decade. You can't just have a gap of a 10-year gap of being in the postseason and instantly say, hey, we're going to the Super Bowl. It doesn't work that way. Now, it can happen, but usually it doesn't work that way. So I feel like for the Jets fans, listen, get into the postseason, win a ball game or two. That clearly would that I wouldn't say satisfy you, but that won't be a disappointment either. If you don't get to the playoffs, that's the ultimate disappointment. I think we all would agree to that. So I'll say the realistic expectation should be second round in the playoffs. And then when you get to that level, clearly anything can happen. I know they really put a lot on to having Aaron Rodgers, but this is a team that has been out of the playoffs for over a decade. So saying we're going to the Super Bowl right now, it could happen, but I don't think that should be a realistic expectation right now.
Bryant McFadden. Brian, can't tell you how much we appreciate this. We know your busy time of year is about to get a whole heck of a lot busier. We love the All Things Covered podcast, the interview with Justin Fields, phenomenal, all of it, and watching you on CBS Sports HQ, fantastic. Talk to you soon.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you.
Well, that was the most realistic, reasonable thing I've heard about the Jets in about a month.
Yes, not the Super Bowl or bust. Second round. There you go.
Yeah, that was well said. But honestly, I think that was way too reasonable for this day and age. 2023. We don't want a calm, rational, thought-out takes on where the Jets are going to go. Super Bowl or bust.
Coming up, will one training camp holdout ruin an entire season? We'll get to that in a moment. Plus, we see you guys on the phones want to weigh in on our great debate series. Today we're doing the greatest wide receiver of all time, the greatest cornerback of all time. We're talking pro football here. We'll get back to that in just a moment after this CBS Sports Update. Here's Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
Well, training camp starting. The top picks are coming to terms. C.J. Stroud signs his 4-year deal with the Texans worth $36 million. And Anthony Richardson also coming to terms in a deal with the Colts worth just under 34. The Lions got a scare, but things seem to be working in their favor. Defensive back C.J. Gardner-Johnson had to be carted off today with a knee injury. The good news is earlier reports indicate he's just day-to-day, no structural damage. The Bills expect to be without running back Nyheim Hines for the season. The veteran suffered a knee injury away from the facility when he was involved in a freak jet skiing accident in which he was hit while he was stationary on his jet ski, hit by somebody else, but he'll undergo surgery and likely out for the season. Kadarius Toney reportedly expect to be ready for the start of the season after aggravating a previous knee injury yesterday. Baseball today, the Giants have now dropped 6 in a row, falling in Detroit this afternoon by a score of 5-1. The Reds and Brewers meet in Milwaukee, which holds a half-game lead in the NL Central and have won 8 of the previous 10 meetings. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Looking for CBS Sports Radio online? Your favorite hosts and the best sports content and entertainment are available 24/7 on social media and YouTube and in the palm of your hand with the free Odyssey app.
CBS Sports Radio.
'You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds.
I'll tell you this, not to get too morbid, when my dog passed away 2 years ago.
Break ends in 5 seconds.
I ran 20 red lights.
Sports Radio. Watch the show, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. You can also download the absolutely free and crystal clear Odyssey app. We're on Sirius XM channel 158 as well. Got a lot of updates coming in from training camps. We'll do that in just a moment, but we're doing our great debate series this week. Greatest player at their position of all time. We're talking pro football here. Today, wide receiver and cornerback. For wide receiver, I have Jerry Rice.
I have the most feared wide receiver of all time, Randy Moss.
Yeah. And for cornerback, I have Deion Sanders.
I have Rod Woodson. Not as exciting as Randy Moss.
But a hell of a career. Let's go to Ron, who's in Oakland, has a thought on Randy Moss. Hello, Ron. How are you?
I'm good. So there's no doubt that Perloff is correct, that Randy Moss is more physically gifted than Jerry Rice. I watched Moss in his first couple years with Minnesota, and I said to myself, if this guy stays healthy, he's going to catch and break Jerry's record.
Right.
But as everyone knows, he took plays off. But, Andrew, he didn't just take plays off. He took a whole season off with the Raiders. He mailed it in that whole season. And if being a good teammate counts, as you guys acknowledged when you were discussing LeBron versus Michael, he is not the greatest ever, and it bothers me that he's in the Hall of Fame.
Really? For that? Wow.
Yeah, but
Ron, thank you for the phone call.
He didn't have the stability of the 49ers organization and Eddie DeBartolo. I mean, Jerry Rice didn't. I mean, nowadays, wide receivers ass off the team all the time. Or they don't take time off. By the way, that's an interesting strategy that Randy Moss sort of did what Saquon Barkley might do with the Giants.
Hold in.
He kind of held in for a whole season. I understand. I mean, listen, that Raiders team was a mess back then. So I think I give Randy a little bit of leeway on that. It's not ideal. Listen, Randy Moss definitely did not maximize his talent. He did not give out full effort. Jerry Rice did. I'm not going to argue with you on that. But listen, nowadays wide receivers do that kind of stuff all the time, and we don't really hold it against them because it's a position that's dependent on so much, and sometimes you're in a bad spot, and you got to get out of there.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. You don't have to gift it right to the Patriots. I mean, come on. Like they need help.
Spoken as a Bills fan.
Like they need help. Okay, a couple of updates for you coming in from NFL training camps here. First of all, the Green Bay Packers had their annual shareholder meeting, which they do in the stadium.
Yeah.
So apparently Mark Murphy, the president of the Packers, was asked about Jordan Love and sort of when are they going to know what they have with Jordan Love. And according to Rob Demoski of ESPN.com, he said, quote, I'm comparing it a little bit to Aaron's first year as a starter, meaning Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, I'd say you need at least half a season to know. And I think even though we ended up with a losing record that year, but we saw enough of Aaron to know that we had something special. So listen, Love's already signed a contract extension through 2024, but half a season is when they're going to know, and you can see what Murphy's doing here, and it's very smart. Don't look at the win-loss record when it comes to the Packers this year. I'm not sure if it's going to be even as bad as they think. You know, they still could have a good record. The Packers could be a playoff team, maybe. A lot of things are going to have to break right for them. But he's telling fans there, don't look at the record. Just we'll know with Jordan Love, and that's the most important thing about this season.
Wow. The problem is the NFC North is as down as it's ever been, and your schedule's super easy. You got all sorts of NFC South all over this bad boy. So I think you got to put a little pressure. If Jordan Love can't win this year with this schedule, I don't know. I don't see it.
Well, and listen, it's not like the guy's walking in from Utah State, you know?
Yeah, I know.
He's been with the team and with this coaching staff for 3 years.
And he's going to be awesome, by the way. I'm so on the Jordan Love train. And they have a run game. They have a run game, and they have all those young receivers who've got a year under their belt with Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, I understand when you're saying it's not going to be easy. Don't judge them by the record. I think Mark Murphy was just being careful because how could he not be excited about this opportunity? Look at who they opened with, Maggie. At Chicago, worst team in the league last year. At Atlanta, New Orleans at home, Detroit at home, at Vegas. At Vegas should be a win. Sorry, Stu. You know, these are like a lot of also-rans on their schedule. And the NFC North is down. So if Jordan Love can't do it here, it's just going to get harder.
Okay, well, there's another part of the reading between the lines here, which is who else has staked their reputation and credibility on this Jordan Love move? Mark Murphy, the coaching staff. I mean, everybody who signed off on trading Aaron Rodgers out of town to the New York Jets. I mean, I know they have a lot of cachet and built up, a lot of trust with the fan base, but still, everyone who stuck their neck out, and it got ugly there with Rodgers at the end. I mean, a lot of he said, cell phone receptions at the Malibu house, and were they FaceTiming and.
I think the much more significant move was drafting Jordan Love. That was
definitely.
I mean, that's really when they put their neck out, and I think that's kind of why the fact that they made that pick is why they followed through and eventually let Aaron out of the way. I mean, they picked Jordan Love at 26. That's when they made their move.
Think about it, though.
A while ago now.
Legacies are not always in stone here, right? Even if you are presiding over a highly functional and functionable and a proud franchise. Think about what people now think of Belichick because Brady went and won somewhere else. I mean, think about that. Belichick, greatest coach of all time, has a claim. We're going to do Coach on Friday, by the way. in our great debate series, has a claim, and yet Brady going and winning in Tampa Bay, and now you have people questioning Belichick and his legacy.
Well, yeah, I mean, and the Packers guys haven't won anything, even with Aaron Rodgers. Matt LaFleur has won nothing. Brian Gutekunst has won nothing. So, yeah, I don't actually think they have a legacy to blow up here. Mark Murphy's really the president, so it's a little different. They're not going to blame him for that. But
yeah, but it was a lot. It got a little dicey there with Mark Murphy and Rodgers at the end.
I don't think Mark Murphy's ever been held in super high esteem by anyone, really. I don't think anyone's... I've never heard Mark Murphy... I love Mark Murphy. He went to Colgate University. He was head of the Players Union, successful NFL career. But I don't think anyone ever thought Mark Murphy built this. I think everyone thinks Ted Thompson built it, and he's gone.
That, but also, I mean, it's unique. We're talking about the shareholders meeting. There's no owner to be accountable for. The great people of Green Bay and the fans of the Packers own the team. So it's like you're not having a Jerry Jones or a Mark Davis or someone who you have to answer to.
Maybe if the Packers lose and they're going for blood, I feel like Gutekunst is first. He's already on a thin line because Aaron Rodgers wanted him out before. Then LaFleur, that's an interesting one.
Well, the coach is always on the hot seat.
Yeah, I mean, I think the GM will get it because Gutekunst has always been polarizing. I think Aaron sort of kind of soured the pool on that one. Then LaFleur. Then I think Murphy's a distant third because I actually don't. He can say I'm the business guy when it's convenient.
I don't know if you're going to get away with that.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think Mark Murphy really picks the players. So I understand what you're saying. Did you see also the Packers said we will bring Aaron back? Like everything's kumbaya right now. They said we're going to bring him back. We're going to honor him.
They said they're going to retire their jersey in due time.
Yeah, I think things are okay. And in 5 years, Aaron's going to be fine there. I don't think there's any lasting bitterness there. Do you think anything could stick there?
I mean, listen, it happened with Favre. It took a while to mend those fences.
Yeah.
No doubt. I think with Rodgers, listen, the way Rodgers is now, it's like nothing can possibly go wrong in his world.
Yeah,
This is the happiest we've ever seen him.
Yeah, Favre did not. I think Favre wanted to come back to the Packers this year. Rodgers clearly, after 2 weeks in New York, I don't think he ever even wants to visit Green Bay again.
Jeez, I don't know about that.
But you know what I mean? Like, he's so much happier getting a second chance here.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Got some other camp updates as well. I'm not going to dwell on this at all, but you guys know that I am diehard Buffalo Bills fan.
Yeah.
Not a great omen when your kick returner, punt returner gets hurt in a jet ski accident that allegedly not even his fault.
Yeah. Friend of the show, too.
Naeem Hines. What am I supposed to think about that? He wasn't even like doing a cool trick or something on a jet ski, which we probably would have.
Has he win total gone down, 1.5, 2 total?
I mean, all I got to hope is, knock on wood, you get your weird injury out of the way early here. The dude wasn't even doing anything. He was just sitting on a jet ski out for the season. Oh, boy. All right, coming up, the most clueless person in sports. We'll get to them.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
I will let her eat half a jar if I can eat half a spicy of wings. If I
no, that I'm looking forward to. Quite
there's no bargaining allowed as the boss. You're not gonna let us do that.
That one he's not getting up.
I've never seen the true face of a coward like I saw when I heard Perloff talking about the spicy coalition. True fear. You seem a little worried, Maggie.
I'm hiding it.
Is
deathly
very
afraid.
scared,
Yes.
like a child who was told that there was a monster under the bed. That's how
Boogeyman is here.
Yeah.
They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff on this Monday. So glad to have you. We got so much going on, and more is just coming in. We had all the stuff to react to from the weekend, Perloff, but now the training camps are opening up all over the NFL. It's just more and more and more. So let's waste no time because a lot is going on at Chiefs camp. They got a little drama going on there, first and foremost, with Chris Jones, their standout defensive and, monster defensive player, is not there. And it's a contract thing. It's still early enough in camp that I'm not predicting doom and gloom here for Kansas City, but I thought it was odd that Andy Reid, their head coach, said he was surprised that Chris Jones wasn't there. It's like, wait a minute, he's one of your best players. How could you not have an inclination that he was this upset the fact that he's incurring fines by not showing up to training camp.
Yeah, I mean, he is the franchise on defense because it's famously, it's a young, no-name defense, and he's among the leaders in snaps for defensive tackles and defensive linemen. And he had 15 and a half sacks and he's 29 quarterback hits, and he is basically the most important player. I don't know where he ranks, but he is the most important player on defense by 5 miles. Without him, what is that defense? And this is what I think people lose sight of, Maggie, is
what's that?
How hard it is to repeat. How many things can go wrong? And not that Chris Jones won't show up, but it's just a reminder of how fragile it is in today's NFL. Even the great Patriots couldn't repeat. So as good as the Chiefs are, is like camp starts, you remember, oh my God, so many things can go wrong.
Yeah, well, the Patriots did repeat, but 03-04 is a lifetime ago.
Good point. Right.
It feels like it. But so here was Mike Tannenbaum, the former general manager for both the Jets and the Miami Dolphins. He was talking about just how important Chris Jones is on ESPN.
After Patrick Mahomes, to me, the second most important Kansas City Chief is Chris Jones. They cannot win a championship without him.
Let me just be clear, Mike. Chris Jones more important to the Chiefs' success than Travis Kelce.
Not even close. You know why? Because the greatness of Patrick Mahomes.
Not even close.
Wow, that's strong.
Not even close. That Chris Jones is more important than Travis Kelce. And intuitively, I get what he's talking about, right? Yeah. Because if you have Mahomes, I'm not saying, listen, Kelce is one of the great tight ends of all time, but it feels like, listen, they let Tyreek Hill go.
They let Tyreek Hill
went to the Super Bowl. I know.
So, I mean, Chris Jones logic is... You're right. Your heart says there's no way that's true, but your head says, Tyreek Hill left, and that offense kept going along. So maybe it could go. I mean, Travis Kelce's not young. At some point, Mahomes is going to have to do without him, and we all think he probably will be able to. So I think there's some validity to that, although you're right. My heart doesn't quite feel that way.
No, but this is definitely, this is that type of adversity you mentioned. Now, Mahomes was speaking with our friend, Jonathan Jones, friend of the program, and was asked about whether the Chiefs are a dynasty.
I think we're the beginning of one. I think in dynasties, I always say you got to win 3. Our job is to do whatever we can to win as many as we can and not have any regrets we step off the field. And I think if we keep the mentality that we have, then we can look back at the end of our career and then we can decide if we're a dynasty or not.
Okay, so got to win 3 to be the dynasty. I agree with him. You need to win 3. The question is, do you have to win 3 in a row to be a dynasty?
I think that's too hard to do right now. I don't think you need to win 3 in a row. I think you need to win 3, and it's sort of a modern, what I'll call a modern dynasty.
3 in how many years?
3 in 10 years. No, 3 in
10.
3 and 6.
I would say 3 and 5.
Well, how many times does that happen?
Well, I mean, that's why dynasties are rare.
Well, I think back in the day, you had the Steelers and you had the Cowboys, and there wasn't a salary cap. It was easier. There were less teams. Now I think 3 and 5 seems too hard. I say 3 and 7, and you're a San Antonio Spurs like dynasty, and that's the best you can hope for. You think 3 and 5. So wait, when did so they won in the 19 season and the 22 season?
They lost in the Super Bowl in 20.
So that means they need one more. How many years do they have to hit your criteria?
I mean, I think the next year or two. Now listen, you know how I feel about Mahomes. I feel like he could have a Michael Jordan-like effect on the AFC, where I know Burrow already beat him to get to a Super Bowl, but where he's so good and he and Reed together are so good that it prevents other great quarterbacks who play in the AFC from reaching and winning Super Bowls.
Any quarterback in mind who happens to play for your favorite team?
Listen, it's not just about Josh Allen. It's about Lamar Jackson. Come on.
Lamar Jackson hasn't even been to he's won one playoff game.
No, I understand.
He's not getting Mahomes out.
I'm just saying everyone's going to take their turn at Mahomes. Now, Burrow did get his shot, beat Mahomes 2 years ago, got to the Super Bowl, but ultimately fell short against the Rams.
She was pretty close last year,
I know. I get it. But
could be Burrow could hold people out, too. Burrow and Mahomes could alternate keeping your guy out. Josh Allen.
Don't worry. I've thought of it. Thank you. I don't need you to, dream up any nightmare scenarios for me. I already got them all in my head.
Can you call Roger Goodell and say, hey, have you ever thought about realigning the Buffalo Bills to the NFC? I mean, geez. Josh Allen could play left-handed and they could get out of that conference.
No, so I'm thinking about maybe something a little radical for me here.
Okay.
I'm thinking about this year, maybe I just try to be kind of positive. It's going to be really hard.
About what?
About the Bills. Thank you.
Now you're
I didn't
deciding to be positive?
I didn't need a spit take. I mean,
Well, I know, you can't be positive. You can be positive at the end of July, just when everybody's positive about every team. There's no way you could hold it.
You think I'm just getting wrapped up and everyone's hopeful now? It's training camp. It's designed to be hopeful.
Yes, that's true. But also, too, I think that you are so hardwired to be negative about your teams. I'd like to see how many days. We should have a counter.
Yeah.
We should put this up from starting with week 1 of the season. How many days in a row has Maggie been positive about the Buffalo Bills?
Is this in a factory when we've gone 100 days without an accident?
Yes.
I've gone two segments without saying something negative about the Bills.
We should have a meter right behind us.
Yeah.
And every time it goes to 7 days, we'll get some sort of.
Do I get a treat or something?
You get a treat, or the whole studio. The whole studio gets pizza or something. Because I'd like to see how many days we can go without a negative comment about our own team, and that's off the air too.
Well, I mean, off the air. Okay.
No, you said you're going to be positive.
Okay. No. Then I would have to see it through. It's kind of like when. I haven't done this yet, but it's like when people go to therapy and they have an awakening, or it's like, all right, this is just who I am.
Have you been doing ayahuasca?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. Not yet, but maybe this is listen, my whole life I've been negative about the team, and it hasn't worked. So maybe it's like a Costanza, go opposite here, and maybe something good will happen. Maybe I'm just they're going to pull this out. They're going to do it. They're going to win. And maybe something will change.
I don't think you have it in you. I think the team might. I don't think you have it in you, Maggie. I don't think you can hold back the tide of negative sort of future forecasting.
Yeah. And just the other shoe's going to drop.
Yeah, I mean,
Barbara's in the chat says, Maggie, who do you hate the most? LOL. It's like your children. I can't pick one who I love. Who do I hate the most of my teams? I mean, I love it. I love and hate them all.
No, you got to hate the Mets the most, I would assume.
Though.
How can you not hate the Mets?
Because they went to the World Series, and I got to go to a World Series game. Now, they lost in spectacular fashion to the Kansas City Royals. That was rough.
Wait. The New York Mets went to a World Series against the Kansas City Royals. If a World Series happens in the absolute nadir of the sport, does it count? I mean, that is as low profile a World Series as there ever has been or ever will be. But anyway.
All right. I mean, it wasn't.
They lost to the Royals, the modern Royals, not the George Brett Royals.
No.
Anyway, I would have thought the Mets, because usually baseball also loans itself to being negative because the season is so long. I feel like I see the slow burn of hopelessness about the Mets. In fact, today you were saying, why keep Justin Verlander? What's the point?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, what is the point?
Maggie, I will tell you this, though. As a longtime Jet fan myself, hoping for the best and rooting for all the positivity, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. See,
I've done it so many times.
You're being positive right now with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, but that's because we are going to win the Super Bowl. That's a different story.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But generally speaking, just intentionally trying to be positive because you're always so negative, I've tried it multiple times, especially with Mark Sanchez. And yeah, they went to a couple of AFC Championship games, but man, the butt fumble just ruined everything.
Man, I can understand why it would.
You know what helps? And I highly suggest it.
What?
Nick Foles?
If you get a yes, and yes. If you get a ring on your finger, it makes it all so much easier.
Well, of course.
Just because you had Ricky Ricardo's NFC Championship ring on your finger last week does not mean that you're going to win anything anymore.
I don't know why I said it like that. Like I had a ring on my. I should buy a replica 2017 Philadelphia Eagles ring.
Please don't.
Everything is easier once you get sort of that monkey off your back with the Eagles winning it.
Yeah, I've been told.
I hear Carson Wentz might be looking for some extra money, so you may be able to buy it off of him.
Oh, my gosh. Speaking of Wentz, did I tell you I got a letter? So you guys know, if you've been watching and listening to the show for a while, we raised money. Well, not say it differently. Perloff and I gave to charity. We didn't raise money. We went out of our own pocket and gave money to charity just in exchange for people signing up for the YouTube page so we could destroy the Carson Wentz poster. So the Carson Wentz poster, we did this for a long time. I ate a jar of jelly over this.
Yeah.
What other crazy things did we do for that poster? Basically give money and eat things.
Yeah, we basically gave a lot of money.
A lot of airtime.
Yeah. We had
valuable airtime.
We had a lot of people on our side, too. It was a group effort. It was more than just the Maggie and Perloff show. All of CBS Sports Radio sort of joined together as one. It was an incredible bonding moment.
It really was. The Weedos, the Purple Drinkers.
Yes.
I mean, everybody was really into this. And so we did give money to boys and girls clubs all over the country where Carson Wentz played, as kind of like a balance our karma out a little bit. It's like, all right, we're going to destroy the poster, but let's give to charity. Why are we keep asking for things? We got to give back as well, right? Perloff and I are spiritual in that way. So the great people of Fargo, North Dakota, apparently our donation landed a little differently there than it did in Indy and Philly. And
we didn't get to Washington.
We didn't get to Washington.
We didn't need to. We already hit our number.
But it landed a little different considering we've gotten 2 thank you emails. And then all of a sudden I'm checking the mail yesterday and I had a letter from the people in Fargo again thanking us for this donation. I wish I could tell you we gave them like $10,000. We didn't give them that much money, but they were very, very appreciative and got a letter in the mail thanking us again. And now I feel awful.
Why do you feel awful? We gave a wonderful donation. You should feel great about this.
Clearly, they don't know why we actually gave the money. I yada-yada'd over it in an email.
Do you think they care? I mean,
They don't
cash is
care.
cash.
This is the Boys and Girls Club. They have bigger priorities than whether we think Carson Wentz is a good quarterback.
I know, but do you think it aligns with their values that we destroyed the poster with a baseball bat?
The Boys and Girls Club in Connecticut cares that LeBron made the terrible decision and donated all the money? Of course not.
I mean, that was like a huge moment. I just feel bad.
So
They
is
keep the decision. They keep thanking us, and it's like, but the pretenses were we just felt. We destroyed the poster. We're not fans of Wentz.
Well, here's the thing. If you know anyone from Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, they're the nicest people in the world. Yeah. Minnesota Nice is also in North Dakota.
Yeah.
So even if you told them that we were destroying the poster because of Carson Wentz, they still would have reacted the same way. Oh, thank you.
And a letter?
Oh, my gosh.
Hand-signed letter?
Those are very nice people in that part of the world. I'm just telling you.
If we were trashing the Boys and Girls Club, different story. We were just trashing somebody who happened to be from that state.
No, but they keep telling me, go Wentz. Like, hey, we love that you guys love Wentz. We're like, I'm just like being a little like non-committal on the details of why we gave them the money.
By the way, they also knew you've said some not complimentary things about Trey Lance through the years, too.
Well, now I'm like, Trey Lance has got to step up and take this job.
Well, I don't think they'd like that either.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so got a problem with Easton Stick back up with the Chargers?
If I knew he existed, then I probably would. No, I feel bad. They keep thanking us, and it's like, ugh.
Yeah, don't feel bad. We gave a great donation. This is why you can't say positive about the Bills, because you were always assuming the people just want the money. They view the positive. They just see the positive. You just see the negative. I'm sorry.
So you don't think I'd be able to do it?
No, I think you might get 7 after like a 48-7 win. I think you could go 7 days. But by the first quarter of the next game, and it's counts at home too. I'm getting your husband involved.
Yeah, he's also a Bills fan.
And your son. Well, yeah. So I imagine he's more positive than you.
Yeah, he is. Everyone is.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just like, they lose that opener to the Jets, I'm not going to last it. The 5 minutes.
Oh, I can't wait for the Maggie positivity meter. We might even extend it past the Bills to other things. This is going to be great fun.
Other things. I can't. Baby steps here, Perloff. Our great debate series this week, we're going great all-time players at each position. We're talking pro football here. So for wide receiver, I have Jerry Rice. Perloff.
Randy Moss.
And for cornerback, I have Deion Sanders. Perloff.
Rod Woodson.
Roger is in Modesto, California, wants to weigh in on someone we missed. Hey, Roger, how are you?
I am great, Maggie and Perloff. Thank you for having me on your show. You guys are great. I love you guys. And congratulations on being on the Jim Rome show the other day. I listened to every second of it.
Oh, thanks.
You're very welcome. Hey, look, what I wanted to mention is he's not on the level of the guys that you're talking about. I'm an old dude. Growing up as a Raider fan, which I don't want to talk about that, with Lynn Swann.
Yeah.
I never saw anybody catch the ball back in the day the way he did. I mean, that guy would get right up to the sideline. He would make the most acrobatic catches. Can't say that word.
Yeah.
I mean, he was crazy great. 4 Super Bowls, an MVP at the Super Bowl, an MVP season, Hall of Fame in the NFL. And, of course, I can't tell you that he was in the Hall of Fame college, too. And, hey, for Jerry Rice, real quick, his dad was a bricklayer. And I understand that Jerry Rice had an epic workout. And if you notice, his uniform was always clean. Randy Moss kicked off the Patriots and ran into the meter maid. And finally, who's better, John Elway or Aaron Rodgers?
Oh, Roger.
Oh, don't do that to us.
Okay. We're doing 2 positions a day. Don't worry, I'm not, trying to shirk the question, but we're doing 2 positions a day. We are not doing quarterback until Wednesday.
But we have a twist.
What's that?
Quarterback. Are we doing that twist?
That
has not been decided?
I don't think that's been decided yet.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
We might change the parameters. We're talking about changing the parameters for quarterback. By the way,
Elway versus Rodgers.
What Rodgers said, I will, for fun, look at Lynn Swann highlights. He's like the Vince Carter of 1970s football. I think he had 87 catches on his career, and 81 of them are the most amazing highlights you've ever seen. He was spectacular. But the amazing thing about when you're comparing eras, which we have to do for this debate, I mean, do you realize how few catches and how few touchdowns he had? Next to nothing.
I'm looking now. Is this right? 51 career touchdowns?
I'm sure it's right.
From Lynn Swann?
I'm sure it's right. It's incredible how small this passing stats were back then.
336 receptions.
I mean,
that's not a lot.
Yeah, I know. It's
for a caliber of hit, for a caliber of player.
But he was so impactful.
And to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, and listen, Stallworth probably didn't have much bigger numbers either, but it was a different era. He was probably among the league leaders some of those years. He led the league in touchdowns 1 to 11. I don't know. He was just so highlightable, and he was so Super Bowl oriented that to me he was a no-brainer Hall of Famer.
When you hear Elway Rodgers, just gut. We haven't gone into the numbers. My gut tells me Elway.
Okay. Elway's higher on most lists, I think.
But it's like Rodgers, so talented. I mean, they both are. My gut tells me Elway, but I haven't dove into it.
I mean, as far as physical talent, Rodgers is up there, but he's probably maybe the most talented. I've heard that he's the most talented.
Most talented.
But Elway's physical talent was off the charts. Obviously, he was stronger than anyone, could throw the ball harder than anyone. He was also really, really smart. I mean, they're close, but I think Elway would be the most. If we put a poll up, I think Elway would win. By the way, I did put a poll up about our most non-Jets fans rooting for the Jets.
Oh, what? Wait, hold on to that thought. We'll update that poll when we come back. That was a question. Perloff said he started to feel bad for the Jets because there's no chance they're going to live up to the hype and the eventual backlash is going to get them. I say that's just their own fault. You put up that poll. True. We'll update it in a moment. We got to get to just a very short, quick break. And then coming up, this was the last place I thought anyone was going to draw inspiration. Amazing story from the weekend. And oh, by the way, Tom Brady's got a new girlfriend. We've got a lot going on, guys. We're going to get to all of it. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. Minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds. Question of the day brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Today's question comes from Pete in Ohio. Have you ever heard of Brian Harmon? Oh, that's low. You can submit a question by tweeting it at CBS Sports Radio or at Maggie and Pearl using the hashtag #AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. So, Brian Harmon, I got to give this dude credit because if I'm in his position where I have a 5-stroke lead, 4-stroke lead, 6-stroke lead at the British Open for most of the time, my panic level is at 120. Like, can you imagine what it's like?
You're a terrible front runner.
Multiple days being that far up, thinking of all the things that could go wrong, and that what's the guy who famously choked Valder or whatever? The most famous choke in the history of golf, Vandermeer or something. Johnny Vandermeer.
Yeah.
So
Johnny Vandermeer was a pitcher.
Okay.
Wait, are you talking about Rory?
No. The guy who basically triple bogeyed his way into history. I'll get it in 1 second. Van de Velde or something?
Van de Velde.
Yeah, Van de Velde.
John Van de Velde.
Johnny Vandermeer was a Reds pitcher.
Well, it was Jean, Jen, so not
okay.
Johnny.
Anyway, this was an epic meltdown. So much could go
This is an
wrong.
Ask the Pros that's gone totally wrong.
So much could go wrong in the British Open. So the rain started coming down on Sunday.
Yeah.
The fact that he held it together and basically kept the same score the whole time, to me, is a miracle. Because back to that question, who is Brian Harman? Like, how did Brian Harman convince himself that he could win this thing?
Well, clearly he's a former Georgia Bulldog because he was taking inspiration from Kirby Smart.
Yeah, I mean, I was a wreck last night. I mean, I've been a wreck the whole week, but it's just trying to just grind it and not, I kept thinking about something Kirby Smart said. I'm not going to be hunted. I'm going to hunt.
All right. So there you go. He's taking Kirby. He also, now he got two sources of inspiration here. Number one, he's thinking about Kirby Smart, and I'm sure he was, and, go Dogs and all that. Somebody in the crowd shouted out to him in the middle of his last round. Did you guys see this?
No.
Someone in the crowd heckled the guy and said, Harman, you don't have the stones for this. And he said that was the motivation. He wanted to shut that guy up.
There you go.
I mean, what is it? In Tahoe a couple weeks ago, we got someone screaming during Marty Fish's backswing, and now you got someone heckling saying you don't got the stones for this? Golf is just totally losing it. Where's the decorum, dudes?
That's okay. I mean, as long as it wasn't during his swing, I don't think it's the end of the world. I think he'd talk a little trash. Obviously, I read several accounts of the local crowd was not a Brian Harman fan.
No, I don't think they want Americans to win this tournament.
No, they really want Fleetwood is local to that course, and they obviously everyone loves Rory over there. So they were rooting for those guys, but give Harman credit. You know what I find really interesting about him, besides being a lefty? He's 5'7".
Yeah, he's a small guy.
Small guy, 36. He's like, I thought I might never win a major. Like, this honestly couldn't have been less high-profile of a win in the British Open.
You want to guess how much he's made as a professional golfer?
$29 million?
$29 million. We've never heard of the guy.
Yeah.
5'7", just like 36 years old. He's won 2 tournaments in his entire professional golf career before yesterday. 2 tournaments before yesterday.
Yeah.
He's made $29 million.
Came in second in a U.S. Open. I do know that, which is actually like $1 million, right? Actually, I think I heard
Yeah, that's $1 million. That's not $29 million.
Yeah, but he's 36. I mean, just the fact that you can come in second in a tournament and get $1 million, that's a great life. I'm telling you, he's probably double that in sponsorship.
Yeah.
That is a good life to be Brian Harman. And look at Georgia Bulldogs.
These guys all seem so miserable. Though.
Georgia Bulldogs, another win. I just hope he has a driver on the way home if he's a...
Oh, gosh, Perloff. Okay, let's get to our NFL Do You Believe It? Now, we got a couple things for you. Quotes from professional football players. We'll tell you if we believe it. Sorry, the music threw me off for a sec. Okay, first one. Here is Aiden Hutchinson of your Detroit Lions talking about the hype train in Detroit.
It's kind of hard not to see it, even we got the TVs on in there and it just pops up, so you see it. And, I think it's smart if a lot of our guys, stay off of it just because, it can get to your head a little bit. But we keep that underdog mentality, we haven't won anything yet.
All right. The Lions being able to keep the underdog mentality. Do you believe it?
I don't believe it at all. I feel like
clearly they got the TVs on all over the place.
He's right. You can't avoid the hype. I do think that they can afford some growing pains because the division is kind of flawed. So I do think that's who was the person who said winning is the hardest thing? Winning is what. Last week we had a guest who said the real challenge is how do you behave when you win. Mm-hmm. So the Lions have no idea how to do this. They're a young team. I think that's a real legit question with this team. How do they handle success?
This is also a classic case of someone who's being a team that's being handed something before they've ever gone out to earn it. It's one thing to handle winning. I think we were talking about Jordan's Bowls at the time and about how you come back. I think Scott Williams was talking to us about that. Like, how do you repeat? The Lions haven't done squat. Like, the fact that they would have this much hype and have to deal with the impact of the hype when they didn't even make the playoffs last year. Let's all recall here. It was a great win over the Packers at the end of the season, but they did not make the playoffs.
Well, they did win 8 of their last 10, so there is something there. I know you're right. They haven't done anything.
Like, this is the hype without anything. Like, there's no there. Okay, let's move on. Devontae Adams, do we have that sound? Okay, Devontae Adams of Stu's Las Vegas Raiders talking about the importance of Josh Jacobs.
I'm praying everything works out, because if we really want to have a shot at winning the Super Bowl and having all the, the elite aspirations that we do, we're going to need that guy. So, I'm praying that we can still figure something out, but, also understanding where Josh is coming from, but trying to coach him through it at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Josh Jacobs needs to do a few things if he's actually going to play and get to the Raiders Super Bowl. One, he's going to need to be a medical doctor to keep Jimmy G healthy. Two, he's going to need to be the commissioner of the NFL and suddenly move the Raiders out of the AFC, especially the AFC West, and away from the Chiefs. And three, he's going to have to be some form of miracle maker, because there's no way Josh Jacobs could do all this. That being said, I do agree with the sentiment that he's so important to that team, more important than a lot of running. Probably, Saquon's also important, because you got to support Jimmy G. You can't have Jimmy G have to drop back and throw the ball 40 times coming off an injury for the Raiders. So I do think Josh Jacobs is incredibly important. I just wish he had worded it Super Bowl.
Yeah, who thinks the Raiders are going to the Super Bowl? Stu, you're our diehard Raider.
Definitely not. No Super Bowl.
I mean, elite aspirations. It was like the only way Davante Adams is getting to the Super Bowl if he gets traded to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
And that's not happening.
Well, actually, I like that.
Yeah, but traded in the division, no chance.
Oh, yeah, good point.
I think it's a step in the right direction that Jimmy G got cleared. The fact that was even on the table, that they could have gotten out of the contract if he had been cleared, shows like the path you were going down here and not really starting on the most confident and positive place. But Jimmy being healthy makes me think a whole lot different about this team. Now,
well, healthy for now.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to get hurt at some point, which is it's ridiculous they don't have a high-end backup. But the Josh Jacobs part of this it's a problem. And I think he's going to end up showing up, so you're going to be fine. I think he and Saquon Barkley are both going to show up, but this is not great by any stretch, and I have no expectations.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think they both eventually show up, but this they don't need any bumps in.
This is one of my big bold takes for the season is that Davante Adams will be traded by, what did we say is the Monday night game against the Patriots, right? Or Green Bay, I'm sorry. Monday night game against the Packers. He's going to ask to be traded.
Is this starting the hype up so the Bills can land this guy because they couldn't get DeAndre Hopkins?
I don't know. Listen,
that'd be nice.
I bet Stephon Diggs would probably quit the team if they traded for Davante Adams, so I don't think they're going to do that. Okay. Lastly, this is a do you believe it? Tom Brady. Back on the market? Looks like he's got a girlfriend, Perloff.
It's not Kim Kardashian?
It's not Kim Kardashian. We've got no sound for this, thankfully. Tom Brady, that'd be kind of gross. But Tom Brady reportedly dating Arena Shayk. You may know her as a Sports Illustrated swimsuit model. She's also famous exes include Bradley Cooper and Cristiano Ronaldo.
No, not bad.
Not bad.
Not too bad. She likes good-looking men, I see.
And she's quite good-looking herself. I have interviewed her a couple times, and I've always maintained this, working at Sports Illustrated for 8 years and interviewing all the swimsuit models during that time, as I did for SI.com. She was the most beautiful person I've ever seen in person.
Wow.
That's more than Derek Jeter's, more than Hannah Jeter, Brooklyn Decker, Chrissy Teigen. I can go on and on and on. Those women are all gorgeous. Arena Shayk is on a different stratosphere.
Wow.
In my opinion.
Interesting. I have a terrible
Egads. Was this woman real? Are we supposed to compete with her? How? Impossible.
Tom Brady during lovemaking, clearly, he yells out things like 54 for Mike. He totally uses his audible terms.
Really
in weird
can't
ways.
let the game go.
No, I guarantee that's probably why Giselle got rid of him. She's like...
Stop pointing out the defense.
So I do think this is a little complicated in the sense that, do you really want to be with Bradley Cooper and Cristiano Ronaldo's ex? And what's the deal with this woman? Can't she marry Barry from Accounting once? Like, mix it up. Marilyn Monroe was with at least Joe DiMaggio and Arthur Miller, the playwright.
Yeah.
She didn't go straight through from A-list. I mean, these are you bring in Leo and Brad Pitt, and that's about the 5 biggest A-list studs there are. I mean,
I'm going to tell you why. First of all, there was a cover 2 joke that I didn't make that I should have. The reason why Arena Shayk can't date Barry from Accounting is because Barry from Accounting wouldn't be able to form a sentence around Irina Shayk. She, like, I don't know if Brady goes gaga over her, or Ronaldo did, or whatever, but I've seen men be reduced to like they start acting weird around her and around a lot of these models. Men start acting funny around these beautiful women. They don't know how to act. And it gets weird. So you kind of need Brady, who was married to a supermodel. I think that probably is appealing to her.
No,
he can be a normal person.
I don't think so. I think they just let's say it's Tom Brady, Cristiano Ronaldo, Bradley Cooper. Not hard on the eyes themselves. She's not dating them because Barry from accounting was afraid to talk to her. I think that's like she likes these incredibly good-looking guys.
I think
there's got to be a happy medium, though.
I think, but there also has to be a little bit of confidence there, because I wouldn't have ever thought this unless I witnessed it on my own, is that men get weird around these women because they're so beautiful and stunning.
Not me. I was totally cool around the swimsuit model.
Cucumber. Not you. Everyone but you.
Are you kidding me? No, I used to do some of those trips. I remember.
Yeah.
Have you ever been on one of the flights? Yeah.
Yes.
So we
charter flight.
I got on a charter flight from New York to Vegas with these swimsuit models, and they thought I'd be so excited for it. Turns out that me and a swimsuit model on a 4-hour flight cross country have nothing to talk about. I'm like playing video games halfway into this. She left her seat.
Crazy weather we've been having, huh?
Yeah, what the heck, Kate Upton? Come on, get your act together.
855-212-4CBS. Well, we'll see how it goes. They've been dating for about a month.
Wait. They were just pictured today, and they've already retroactively been dating a month? Is this true?
So do you remember there was a story about Brady on a yacht in Sardinia for someone's wedding?
No.
Okay, well, they met there. Ackerman, you look like you have something you want to say.
I don't. You brought up, why doesn't Irina Shayk just go out with,
Rich Ackerman?
Well, that too. But that's what about Brady? He was with Bridget Moynihan. He was with Giselle. Like it's time to these relationships.
Leslie from accounting.
Yeah, it's these relationships with the models. They're not working out. Get something a little more secure.
Wait, not working out? They were married for like 18 years, weren't they?
No, not 18.
18 years? No.
Sorry, how long were they married?
Maybe a decade. But I'm just saying though.
That's a good run.
What are you talking about? No,
whatever happened to till death do us part.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's. I was actually thinking it's
life is long. 13 years they were married. Thank you, Stu.
It's not working for Irina Shayk either.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you guys are have a real puritanical view of this whole thing. It takes two to tango,
Is this true?
No, I don't know.
I'm just saying, though, hey, Tom, I'm just giving you my friendly advice here.
Listen, you can get married and get divorced from famous and non-famous people alike.
This is also true.
Yeah.
But there are, plenty of nice women out there.
Well, what about my point about Marilyn Monroe? Even she, had a wide range of boyfriends. She had Arthur Miller and Joe DiMaggio. Yeah. I think Irina Shayk should mix it up, and she should go.
It's time to go literary.
Remember, my favorite was Julia Roberts dated Lyle Lovett, right?
Yeah,
that was so cool. They were married.
Yeah.
I guess I'm making a plea for ugly men supermodel.
Well, he's a musician though, so
there's always something sexy about that.
Yeah, Rico Kasich and Paulina. Yeah, yes. You're right. But I can't believe you think that she should just go through A-list celebrities. That's not a recipe for happiness, Maggie.
No,
exactly.
You gotta. I bet he is refreshingly normal to her.
She's got to go a level below. She should be dating, kind of like Kate Upton went with Justin Verlander. She didn't go for the all. I mean, he's a big star, but he's not a quarterback. See,
I don't know. I mean, Verlander is also how much money has he made in his career? Now, I'm not saying she's in it for the money because she's made a lot of her own. But
if you're dating Tom Brady, you must wonder what's happening when he's on a road trip.
Well, Verlander was an MVP, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, but Justin Verlander is not the all-time heartthrob that Tom Brady or Cristiano Ronaldo or Bradley Cooper was.
So you should give her credit for this.
Yeah, no. I think she's smart. I think Irina Shayk should go for a 2-time Pro Bowler. Or a pitcher.
2-time Pro Bowler.
A pitcher, maybe the number 9 golfer in the world. She'd be so much happier, Maggie.
Nick in Texas is in the chat, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. I have friends whose wives are more beautiful than Brady's new girlfriend. That's a lie.
Wow.
Also, Nick, I wouldn't be saying that to your wife. Like, hey, have you seen Tom?
Yeah,
have you seen Jerry's wife? She is a smoke show.
Maggie, you were so right. Nick, you screwed up, buddy.
Yeah, Nick, you got to keep that one to yourself.
I would buy some roses on the way home.
No, Nick, we kid. But really, I'd probably buy the flowers. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. If my husband came home and was like, man, like, have you seen John's new girlfriend? She is beautiful. I'd be like, well, congrats, because you're never seeing John again. How about that? No,
or never
I don't have that kind
again.
of power.
Yeah. I would never do that.
Like, great, then we're never going to go to dinner with them ever again.
Anyone who is still married knows not to compliment your wife's friends. That's just off limits.
I know. Is the same thing true for women of men? Like, if I came home and was like, man, your best friend.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
Like Bruce.
Bruce is hot.
Bruce with the glass eye. Of course. Lost his glass eye during coitus. But if I was like, man, Bruce is just studly. Like,
yeah, you can say, I don't care at all if you say celebrities are good looking, but you cannot say.
You can't bring it that close to home.
You can't say friends and people in the neighborhood.
Yeah. It's like, man, Bruce is just a snack.
Well, you know what you can say? If there's a couple that's so good looking, you can say that couple's really good looking.
Yeah, I have a good looking couple friend. Everyone just sort of acknowledges they're really good looking. Anyway, okay, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. They got married, and the whole priest, like his whole thing was beauty's only skin deep. And we're like, yeah, right. We see these people. It's not just skin deep. Anyway, okay, coming up, a lot more to do here, including the Great Debate Series, which will get your final shot here to get your thoughts on the Great Debate Series. Greatest wide receiver of all time, greatest cornerback of all time. We do that after this CBS Sports Update with Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
Well, the Texans are hoping C.J. Stroud becomes the face of their franchise with a second overall pick, signing his rookie deal, 4 years worth just over $36 million. Anthony Richardson went 2 picks later. He has also come to terms with the Colts on his 4-year rookie deal worth $34 million. The Lions had a very big scare earlier today when C.J. Gardner-Johnson was carted off with a knee injury, but early reports indicate there's no structural damage. He's just day-to-day. The Bills' Nyheim Hines was expected to be their return man, but they'll have to go in another direction after the veteran running back suffered a knee injury in a freak jet skiing accident in which he was sitting stationary on his jet ski when he was struck by another one. The Chiefs' Kadarius Toney reportedly to miss some time but should be ready for the season opener after tweaking a previous knee injury yesterday. And free agent Marcus Peters has signed a 1-year deal with the Raiders. Baseball today, the Giants suffered their 6th consecutive loss, losing in Detroit by a score of 5-1. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Looking for CBS Sports Radio online? Your favorite hosts and the best sports content and entertainment are available 24/7 on social media and YouTube, and in the palm of your hand with the free Odyssey app.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To Maggie and Perloff, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, busy. We got so much going on and coming off the weekend, but also with NFL training camps opening up all over the NFL. First, let's get to our shot of the day.
He shoots!
And the shot of the day is brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos is brought to you by those who drink it. And is it true? Is it National Tequila Day? Can somebody give that a Google? I thought I saw National Tequila Day, in which case it's National Casamigos Day around here. So, well, maybe the Casamigos will help. Today's shot of the day, snapshot of the show, is from earlier today when I thought about maybe having a different approach as I root for the Buffalo Bills this year. I'm thinking about this year, maybe I just try to be kind of positive. It's going to be really hard.
About what?
About the Bills. Thank you.
Now you're
I didn't
decided to be positive?
I didn't need a spit take. I mean,
Well, I know, you can't be positive. You are so hardwired to be negative about your teams.
Listen, my whole life I've been negative about the team, and it hasn't worked. Maybe it's like a Costanza, go opposite here, and maybe something good will happen. Maybe I'm just like, they're going to pull this out. They're going to do it. They're going to win, and maybe something will change.
I don't think you have it in you.
I definitely don't. This is what they call like doing work on yourself, you know?
Yeah.
When I hear about all these breakthroughs and stuff that people
But it's like when you read a self-help book and it never sticks. That's what I'm expecting.
I
Sorry,
know.
I could be wrong.
I know, that whole 10% happier. What a load of... Anyway, let's go to the phones. 855-212-4227. It's our pal Sully on the line. Hey, Sully, how you doing?
Maggie, what is going on? Long time no chat.
Uh-huh. Miss you, dude.
Miss you guys, too. Hey, McLevin, $100 if you can tell me what hat you're wearing right now.
The Quebec, not Nordiques, but Nordique. And you know the story. I got this in Montreal because the sun was coming down on me.
I love the fact that you were rocking. You were totally transformed. You were absolutely the hockey. You are now, not myself or Nate Thompson, you're the hockey expert.
Oh, and by the way.
Is that true?
Do you know, Maggie, that Nate announced his retirement and gave us a shout-out?
Is that right?
Is that right, Sully?
He did. Nate Thompson, 844-plus professional NHL games and games in the minors. Officially made it official last couple weeks ago. And
Wait, Sully, you left off a very important credential from Nate's bio, which is the only guest on the Maggie and Perloff show to ever show up without a tooth.
Legendary.
He is the best for that.
He never wears his flipper. He says wearing his flipper is like taking a shower wearing socks. That's the analogy he's always given me.
Oh, man. Well, we'll have to pass on our best to Nate. Yeah. Perloff, the chat was not a huge fan of your hat because they said it makes you look like a narc.
You keep saying that every time I wear a hat.
That's what they say, not
all
me.
the time.
It's the hat and the glasses. Zach Gelb's talking the same thing over. You look like you're, hey, fellow kids.
I think that's so
I've got
stupid.
some weed to sell you.
I can't even tell. Anyway, go ahead, Sully. Sully, by the way, Tom Brady could do better than Arena Shake, right?
No. I am not selling you or buying drugs from you with that look, for sure. You got a 12 shirt, hat that's somewhat fade. You do look like a knock, 100%.
A knock.
I was calling in for a couple of things. I would have to say, seeing that we're going to stick with the poll, Randy Moss.
Oh, Sully, come on. It's Jerry Rice.
Look, I had such a great time watching and being able to root for him when he played for the Patriots, and the numbers that him and Brady put up together up until, I think a couple years later, Manning broke the quarterback, but not the receiver touchdown. He's a legend. It changed defenses, and Jerry Rice had a lot of talent around him, so did that Patriots. I don't know. It's just something I figured I'd throw my hat in the ring and say that I'd vote for Randy
Moss. Well, Sully, we got to leave it there, pal, because we're just flat out of time today. We left no time at the end of the show, but it's great to hear from you. Miss you.
Love and miss you. I'll try to call more.
There we go. Sully and friend of the show. I didn't know that Nate retired.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was on a podcast, and they mentioned, I heard you on the Maggie and Perloff show. You were great. And by the way, Nate, when he goes into TV, will definitely wear that tooth. So I think we were lucky to get a one tooth missing.
Thank you to Mike Samter. Thank you to Stu Kovacs. Thank you to Bryant McFadden, who joined us. The Weedos, the Purple Drinkers. We're back tomorrow with a whole bunch more.
You're in a 5-minute break.